Chapter 967. The next day, Xiao Zhao prepared a lot of gifts for Li Zongjiu. Knowing that his young master was going to visit his future father-in-law, Xiao Zhao specially prepared a lot of antiques. Moreover, the Qi family was born to play with stones. Therefore, he specially selected some precious jade and the like. "Let me accompany you, young master." "No need. When Nangong Wuji is free later, you can give this to him," Li Zongjiu said. Inside the bottle was the elixir for Nangong Wuji. Li Zongjiu didn't remember when they agreed on the time. Anyway, the effect of the elixir would definitely satisfy Nangong Wuji. "Okay, young master, you can do it." Xiao Zhao covered his mouth and snickered. When Li Zongjiu was about to go out, he saw Li Yun standing at the door. She looked bold and decisive, as if she was going to do something big. "What are you doing?" Li Zongjiu saw Li Yun standing at the door and seemed to have been waiting for a long time. He couldn't help but ask. "I'm going with you. After all, I'm the oldest among these people," Li Yun said as she crossed her arms. "So what if you're strong? I'm your cousin." Among the disciples of the Li family who came, most of them were younger than Li Zongjiu. Of course, there were a few who were slightly older, but they were all collateral relatives and weren't close to Li Zongjiu. "No need," Li Zongjiu said and directly stepped out. However, Li Yun shamelessly followed him. "Little brother, this kind of thing requires a parent to be present. I don't believe that you won't panic." Li Zongjiu naturally didn't panic. However, if he didn't allow Li Yun to follow him, she would definitely pester him and keep chattering. It was so noisy that it would kill him. In the end, Li Yun shamelessly followed him. Li Zongjiu hadn't thought of this. In his previous life, he had to rely on himself for almost everything, so Li Zongjiu had never thought of relying on others. He didn't have anyone to rely on. However, things were different in this life. He had his family by his side. There were some things that he could face together. The two of them sat in the carriage and slowly drove to the Qi family's courtyard. The journey from the White Deer Manor to the Qi clan's courtyard took nearly an hour. The entrance of the Qi family seemed to be especially clean today. Qi Shaohun arranged for someone to welcome him at the door. After all, Li Zongjiu's current status was not lower than Qi Shaohun's. In addition, he was an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. This was enough for Qi Shaohun to curry favor with him. However, Li Zongjiu had come to pay a visit to his father-in-law. Therefore, Qi Shaohun naturally had to show off. Wanting to take away his daughter wasn't a simple matter. "I'll have to trouble you to report that Li Yun and Li Zongjiu of the Li family have come to pay a visit." Li Yun handed some gold coins to the two guards at the door. When Li Zongjiu saw this scene, he simply sighed and turned around. This kind of method might work in a small place, but in this place, as long as you say your name, who would dare to stop you? The guards refused to accept and Li Yun kept pushing and shoving. It seemed that the two of them were about to fight. Elder Qi Feiyu, who was still waiting, quickly walked out from inside. "Elderly, Miss Li, please come in, please come in. The family head has been waiting for a long time." Qi Feiyu walked out and saw that Li Yun was about to fight with the guard. He quickly held the two of them down. "Elder, your family's guard is really honest." Li Yun also gasped for breath. She actually couldn't handle this guard after such a long time. This really made her, the new queen of the underground world, very unhappy. "Hee, the family rules are stricter, stricter," Elder Qi Feiyu said with a smile. Li Yun's identity wasn't ordinary. She was Li Zongjiu's cousin. Just this point alone was already very important. With Li Zongjiu's identity and Li Zongjiu's status, Li Yun seemed to be very important. Usually, if there were some matters in the White Deer Manor that couldn't be decided, Xiao Zhao would also look for Li Yun to discuss. After all, Li Yun was the one with the real surname Li. In some matters, he had to respect Li Yun's decision. Of course, the final authority was still in Xiao Zhao's hands. Letting a capable person deal with these matters was better than letting an internal member deal with it. They were more impartial and could see further into the future. Qi Feiyu also knew of Li Yun's identity, so he didn't dare to be disrespectful. Elder Qi, you came early. Let's go. Li Zongjiu took the initiative and said. Qi Feiyu quickly smiled. Although Li Zongjiu hadn't said anything, Qi Shaohun, who couldn't keep his mouth shut yesterday, almost told the entire Qi family. Who didn't know that Li Zongjiu was very likely to be their future son-in-law? Family head is waiting in the main hall, please follow me. Qi Feiyu led Li Yun and Li Zongjiu inside. Along the way, the maids and servants that they met bowed one after another. There were also some young and strong Qi family disciples and Qi family guards. They were all secretly moving the stone tools in their hands with all their might. Moreover, their eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking in Li Zongjiu's direction. Your Qi family's training atmosphere is so lively. Li Yun walked with her long legs and saw these young people secretly exercising. She couldn't help but comment. Cough cough. Qi Feiyu immediately coughed a few times at these people. Obviously, he was here to show off to Li Zongjiu. These stupid people. Li Zongjiu naturally turned a blind eye. The three of them came to the main hall. Qi Shaohun had been waiting for a long time and had brewed a pot of good tea. When he saw Li Zongjiu and Li Yun coming in, his face immediately revealed an extremely bright smile. His daughter would get married sooner or later, but to be able to marry into a good family was the most important thing for Qi Shaohun. Of course, the most important thing was that his daughter wouldn't be wronged. Brother, I heard that you killed everyone in the Haiku dynasty's alchemy assembly. I have to congratulate you properly. Qi Shaohun said with a smile and invited Li Zongjiu to sit down. He waved Qi Feiyu and the others away. Family head Qi is too polite. Today, our family's Li Zongjiu specially came to pay you a visit. Li Zongjiu didn't say anything. Li Yun took the lead and said. She seemed to be very anxious about such things. Huh, you're too kind. I heard that Miss Li Yun is the array master of White Deer Manor. If you're free, you should come to my Qi family often. Although my Qi family is a group of people who play with stones, we still have a lot of Yuan rune array scrolls. Qi Shaohun said. Is that so? Then I'll have to come here more often. Patriarch Qi also knows that our Zongjiu is obsessed with cultivation all day long. He rarely comes out and only knows how to refine pills all day long. Hey, didn't you refine a pill yesterday? Bring it over for Patriarch Qi to appraise. Li Yun nudged Li Zongjiu with her elbow. Li Zongjiu sat at the side. The situation in front of him was completely controlled by Li Yun. He gave the myriad wood pill he concocted last night to Li Yun. This fellow had cultivated with the King of Fire for a period of time and controlled the underground world for a period of time. Unexpectedly, she had become bolder. Moreover, she had become very scheming. Although they were not here to propose marriage today, they should at least confirm their relationship. Who would have thought that Li Yun would come to talk about family matters? Oh. Let me see what kind of pill it is. Li Yun handed the pill over. When Qi Shaohun opened the porcelain bottle and saw what was inside, he felt enlightened and full of essence just by smelling it. Fuck. Qi Shaohun immediately jumped up from his seat after smelling it. However, Qi Shaohun realized that he had lost his composure and hurriedly corrected himself. Good, very good. This pill was concocted very well. When Qi Shaohun held the porcelain bottle in his hand, he felt his palms sweating. 6th grade high-grade pill. Myriad wood pill. 10,000 years of cultivation. Among the Qi family's longevity tree origin spirits, this elixir was definitely a divine elixir. If he could obtain this pill, he would definitely be able to advance his longevity tree king by one level. It was no wonder that Qi Shaohun was so excited. He, Master Qi, this pill is just a small token. In the future, we should interact more with each other. Of course, Qi Xiaohuan's eyes could not leave the bottle in his hand. Master Qi, this is the first time we met. Take this pill as a gift for our first meeting. Besides, I have a presumptuous request. My younger brother is young and promising. He and Miss Yanran are well matched in terms of social status. It's reasonable for young people to interact with each other. Li Yun said. Yes, of course. Qi Xiaohuan's brain was not enough. He had completely fallen into Li Yun's trap. Li Zongjiu had been listening to them for a long time, but he still did not know what the main point of their conversation was. They were really good at wrangling. Wait a minute, brother. If you want to be with Yanran, I won't object. However, Yanran has been in trouble recently. Qi Shaohun did not finish his words. Then, he heard someone shouting outside. Master Huasan is here. Chapter 968. Brother, the people from the Hua clan wanted to propose marriage yesterday, but I had already sent them away. However, they are here again today. It is obvious that they are unwilling to give up so easily. Of course, the matters between you youngsters should be decided by yourselves. What do you think? Qi Shaohun said. Qi Shaohun's face showed that he was in a dilemma. It seemed that he had done his best, but he was unwilling to offend the Hua family. This trouble was naturally handed over to Li Zongjiu. Don't worry. No matter who he is, I'll settle it for you. Li Zongjiu said lightly. Isn't your seniority a bit messy? Li Yan didn't seem to have noticed the crux of the matter. She was only extremely curious about the way Qi Shaohun addressed Li Zongjiu. Wasn't this a little too casual? Li Zongjiu is your future son-in-law, yet you actually addressed him as your little brother. It was really messy. Master Qi, what do you think? In a few days, this old man will return to the barracks. I don't have time to waste here with you. The sooner you agree, the sooner I can go back to report. Hua Sanyi walked in and said. Although he was already old, his body was still very healthy. Qi Yanran didn't know how to be polite yesterday. But Hua Sanyi didn't care. The Hua family had already given the betrothal gift. There was no reason for them to take it back. Even if they wanted to end it, it would be the Hua family's Hua Qing who would abandon them. Before that, they had no right to leave. This was the Hua family's tyranny. They didn't care about what others thought. When Hua Sanyi and Hua Qing walked in, they found that there was not only Qi Shaohun in the main hall, but also a man and a woman. Hua Qing's eyes lit up when he saw Li Yun, but he quickly retracted his gaze. But before he retracted his gaze, he couldn't help but stop on Li Yun's long legs for a second and smiled at Li Yun. It seemed very appropriate. Master Qi, you have guests. We're just chatting amongst ourselves. Third Master Hua, please take a seat. Qi Shaohun said and then got up to pour tea for Hua Sanyi. He shook the teapot and found that there was no water in it. You guys chat first, I'll go add some water. What kind of status did Qi Shaohun have? Yet, he actually personally went to add water. Hua third master sat across from Li Yun, and Hua Qing naturally sat down facing Li Zongjiu. What are you doing here? Li Zongjiu took a sip of tea while Li Yun fiddled with her hair. She seemed a little bored. She didn't need to deal with these things. Now was the time for Li Zongjiu to show his manly strength. Hua third master didn't speak. Hua Qing cupped his hands towards Li Zongjiu. I am Hua Qing from the Hua family. This is my third grandfather. We are here to propose marriage. Hua Qing said with a smile. I have known Yanran since I was young. So many years have passed. Hua Qing seemed to be immersed in his youth as he said this. He looked very affectionate. When Li Zongjiu heard Yanran's name, he stood up and rushed towards Hua Qing. Li Zongjiu directly rushed in front of Hua Qing. Before Hua Qing could react, Hua Third Master had already realized that something was wrong. Li Zongjiu's speed was too fast. The sudden appearance of Li Zongjiu surprised Hua Qing. Li Zongjiu directly punched Hua Qing's face, hitting the bridge of his nose. Hua Qing was knocked over along with his chair. Bang! Li Zongjiu's punch was just right. It hit Hua Qing's whole body, and blood splattered all over his face. Brat, what are you doing? When Hua Third Master saw Hua Qing's miserable state, he immediately raised his hand and slapped towards Li Zongjiu's head. If this palm hit, Li Zongjiu's head would definitely be crooked. Of course, this was only Hua Third Master's guess. Bang! Li Zongjiu stood still. When the palm landed on Li Zongjiu's head, the expected scene of brain matter splattering did not happen. Li Zongjiu stood in the same place, appearing extremely stable. He did not even move a single step. You want to challenge me with this level of skill? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. In the next second, he directly broke Hua Third Master's hand. Crack! A crisp breaking sound rang out. No one expected Li Zongjiu to be so decisive. He directly broke Hua Third Master's arm. If Li Zongjiu was not strong enough, he would have been killed by Hua Third Master's palm. What? Hua Third Master covered his broken arm. He looked at Li Zongjiu with a face full of shock. He did not dare to believe his eyes. He used his head to take a palm strike, but he was still unharmed. And now, he had even broken one of his arms. Who are you? Tell me your name if you have the ability. Hua Third Master covered his broken arm. The young man in front of him was abnormally strong. If he fought him head-on, he would not be able to gain any advantage. My name is Li Zongjiu. If you want revenge, come to White Deer Manor. I guarantee that no matter how many of you come, you will all die. Also, if you are looking for a woman, get lost. If you dare to take half a step into the Qi family, I will definitely take your life. Scram! Li Zongjiu said coldly. His tone left no room for discussion. Hua Qing's nose was bleeding from the punch, but it did not mean that he did not have the ability to fight or temper. Hua Qing immediately stood up. You are courting death. He screamed and rushed towards Li Zongjiu. No. Hua Third Master wanted to stop Hua Qing, but it was too late. Hua Qing was sent flying by Li Zongjiu's kick. The distance between the hall and the entrance was about 50 meters. Hua Qing landed on the street outside the Li family's entrance. Pfft! Hua Qing could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. If Li Zongjiu had used any more strength in his kick, Hua Qing would have been cut in half. Now that he landed on the ground, he felt a sense of comfort. Hua Third Master saw Hua Qing's miserable state. Without thinking, he knew that he would end up in a miserable state. It was all because of Li Zongjiu. This brat was so ruthless. You are very good. I admit defeat today. Hua Third Master was not impulsive. He just took a deep breath. Li Zongjiu did not kill him directly. It could be considered that he had a card up his sleeve. If Li Zongjiu killed Hua Qing today, Hua Third Master would use all means to make Li Zongjiu suffer. The reason why Li Zongjiu did not kill him was not because he wanted to kill him today. After all, this was Qi Yanran's house. It would be impolite to kill in someone's house. It was also surprising that Li Zongjiu would think like this. When he went to the Shi family and killed many people in Qinyuan Villa, he did not have such awareness. So it was very rare. Hua Third Master also covered his broken arm and walked out. It was as if he was leaving with his tail between his legs. I remember that the Hua family is one of the 4 major army families. It seems that they are not to be trifled with. Li Yun stood up and said. After all, she was now a woman who controlled the resources of the underground black market. It doesn't matter what family comes. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. If Hua Qing came to harass Qi Yanran again, he would not let him go easily. He would let him die here. He would not have the chance to regret it. You don't have to worry about this. I will help you deal with the Hua family. Li Yun said. Oh. Li Zongjiu looked at Li Yun in surprise. Li Yun had not left Luoxia city for long, but she had developed such a sharp temper. She probably learned this temper from the King of Fire. Obviously, she was going to become a person who was not to be trifled with in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. Zongjiu. Qi Yanran walked in from outside the house and saw Li Zongjiu and Li Yun. She heard some noise and came out to take a look. She heard from the people in the house that Li Zongjiu had kicked Hua Qing of the Hua family and sent him flying. He landed on the street outside the house. It was rare to see such a scene. All of them were extremely excited, especially the young disciples of the Qi clan. This was really too cool. Some of them didn't even dare to let out a fart when they saw the Hua clan's patriarch leave with his tail between his legs. After becoming strong, it was easy to understand what he said. With a single punch, he understood everything that he didn't understand. Just now, I kicked one of your childhood sweethearts out of here. Li Zongjiu said. What are you talking about? I used to be in the same class as him, but I haven't seen him since. Qi Yanran heard Li Zongjiu's words and was obviously a little angry. Haha. Li Zongjiu saw Qi Yanran's attitude and laughed. Qi Yanran then understood that Li Zongjiu was deliberately teasing her. You. If not for the fact that she could not defeat Li Zongjiu, Qi Yanran would definitely fight with Li Zongjiu. TSK, you young people talk. This old woman will leave first. By the way, I will help you send the gifts you prepared to their housekeeper. Li Yun also waved her hand. Obviously, she did not want to stay in such a place for a second longer. Chapter 969. You beat up the Hua family so badly, they definitely won't let you off so easily. Qi Yanran said worriedly. After all, the Hua family was not an ordinary family. Even the Qi family did not dare to offend them. In fact, the Qi family avoided them like the plague, afraid that they would offend them. Even though Li Zongjiu had helped her vent her anger and made the Qi family proud, it was still too dangerous. This kind of behavior could easily anger the Hua family. I naturally don't care about the Hua family. In the future, when our families work together, we don't have to be afraid of the whole world. Li Zongjiu pulled Qi Yanran into his arms. He seemed to have said too many harsh words over the past few days. If he did not continue to work hard in his cultivation, he would soon become lazy. Do you want to stay at my place? The manor has just been built, and it's not bad. How can I do that? You haven't even asked for my hand in marriage, Qi Yanran said softly. Even though Qi Yanran had never thought about getting married so early, when she said it, she still felt a little shy. She was not married yet, and she had to stay at Li Zongjiu's mansion. What would other people think of her when she went out? Girls were shy, but they still cared about their dignity. All right. Then you should work hard in your cultivation as well. If you need anything, just tell me. I have a few things to take care of. Li Zongjiu said. Is it about that? Qi Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu. Before they left, Wan Yulan had leaked the information to Li Zongjiu. The ancient Zhang family followed them like shadows. Even if they crossed an entire dynasty, it would be difficult to stop them. They had to ensure their safety. The assassination skills of the ancient Zhang family were unparalleled in the world. Even in the Shengyan dynasty, they were famous. There are still some things. Don't worry, I've already sent people to take care of them. As long as they show up, I'll cripple them. Li Zongjiu said flatly. So what if you're from the ancient Zong family? You've been calling them names for a long time, but they don't even know your surnames. What's the point of fooling around like this? Therefore, Li Zongjiu was also extremely disdainful and did not put these people in his eyes. Yes, be careful. Qi Yanran nodded. Previously, I refined a myriad wood pill for your father. Right now, you are still unable to refine these pills. Once your cultivation has stabilized a little, I will refine more for you. Don't underestimate me, I'm also an alchemist. Qi Yanran was a little unconvinced. Everyone was an alchemist. It was as if she was just an alchemist in name. She had real skills. The two of them separated after a while. Could it be that Qi Shaohun had dug a well on the spot? Even if the well was dug on the spot, he should have returned by now. Obviously, this old man had also secretly hidden the pill. This was a high-grade 6th-grade medicinal pill. It was 2 grades higher than the medicinal pill sent by the Hua family. These 2 grades were not to be underestimated. There were countless grade 6 alchemists who could not cross it even if they worked hard. The barrier between realms was right in front of them, and it was not something they could cross just because they wanted to. After leaving the Qi family, Li Yun took the carriage away. If he did not spend money, Li Zongjiu could only walk back. After all, he was not in a hurry for the next few days. He could focus his energy and deal with the ancient Zong family first. The people from Thousand Machine Workshop had already set up an inescapable net. Right now, everything that happened in any corner of Holy Flame Royal City would quickly reach Li Zongjiu's ears. In the Royal City, the ancient Zong family had already sent 2 elites. In order to ensure the completion of this mission and bring back Li Zongjiu's head once and for all, Chia sent out 2 people. Under normal circumstances, 1 person would be enough to complete the task. Zong Feng, let's rest here today. The 2 of them came to a casino. There were 2 big words written on it. Bo Yu. Bo Yu Casino. With their status, if they were to stay in any tavern or inn, they would be quickly discovered by others. Their actions and traces would be exposed very quickly. This was obviously not a good habit. Therefore, casinos were often the best hiding places. This was because there were all kinds of people in the casino. There were all kinds of people, and all kinds of people would go to the casino. There were countless people every day, and it was extremely difficult to track down a single person. Of the 2 people who came, one was called Zong Feng. He was an elite among the younger generation of the ancient Zong family. His goal was to kill anyone below the primitive emperor realm. The other person was the helper of this mission, Zong Yi Saro. He must have been a handsome young master when he was young. However, in their line of work, they could not be seen in the light. If they had a conflict with someone on the street, they could only swallow their anger. Zong Yi Saro was one of the top 5 assassins in the ancient Zong family. In one night, he had killed 3 primitive emperor realm powerhouses in a row, and his achievement was enough to make people tremble in fear. It also made the people of the ancient Zong family see Zong Yi Saro's ability and potential. He was only 35 years old, but he was already one of the top 5 assassins in the family. He was really powerful. This mission was really tough. We actually rushed for 5 days. Zong Feng said. The 2 of them were dressed very normally, as if they were accompanying guards or escorts. It was very normal for people like them to come out and gamble. When the 2 of them walked into Boyu Casino, it was also very natural. It was a pity that the 2 of them were wrong. They should not have come to Boyu Casino. There were more than 100 casinos in Sacred Flame Royal City. As long as they paid the protection fee to Boyu Casino on time, it could continue to operate. After all, the casino industry could only flourish if everyone did business. The two top assassins who came from afar walked directly into Li Zongjiu's territory. They were completely unaware of it. Tai-Fai had already received an order from White Deer Manor in the morning to use all resources to search for people who came from outside the country. Just as Tai-Fai was about to make arrangements, he heard a subordinate report that two unknown experts had come to the casino. The casino industry in Sacred Flame Royal City. Boyu Casino was fully deserving of its title as the leader of the industry. They had already figured out the ins and outs of the industry. The VIPs who came and went were all rich people with potential. They were all there to give away money, so they naturally knew everything. Therefore, when the two people who came from outside the country walked in, they were already seen through. They just entered the city and bought clothes from Wang Mozi's shop. Wang Mozi saw the two of them and said that the clothes they were wearing were not made of Shengyan dynasty materials and workmanship. Chapter 970. After a few rounds of judgment, the identities of these two people were as clear as day. Tai-Fai ordered not to act rashly and alert the enemy. Everything should proceed as usual, and he immediately went to inform the young master of this news. The carriage sped along. Originally, Tai-Fai wanted to drive directly to Bailu Manor, but halfway there, he saw a person who looked like Li Zongjiu. Taking a closer look, it was really Li Zongjiu. Young master. Young master. Tai-Fai stopped the carriage. Li Zongjiu was strolling around the street stalls, wanting to buy something for Qi Yanran. Anyway, he was just strolling around and looking at the ragdolls on the street. When he was holding them in his hand and looking at them carefully, a figure jumped down from the carriage and came in front of Li Zongjiu and said. Tai-Fai saw that Li Zongjiu was holding two ragdolls in his hand, and his face became extremely strange. Young master was indeed young master, he had some hobbies that ordinary people couldn't understand. Tai-Fai? What's wrong? Li Zongjiu originally wanted to go to the casino to see if there were any changes in the casino recently. After all, it had been so long, there should be some progress. Li Zongjiu spent a lot of energy on this in the early stage, and now it was time to reap the harvest. Young master, you asked us to track down the killers from outside the country. We have some clues. Tai-Fai said. Oh. So fast. Li Zongjiu was about to leave with the two ragdolls and the stall owner hurriedly shouted. Boss, you haven't paid yet. Tai-Fai directly threw a few gold coins. Even the broken dolls in the stall could be bought with a single gold coin. Li Zongjiu and Tai-Fai got into the carriage. In the carriage, Tai-Fai also told Li Zongjiu in detail about the discovery of these two people. That should be pretty good. He's actually so arrogant to come knocking on my door. Li Zongjiu's eyes were also filled with cold light. Didn't they say that they were assassins? They actually came directly to destroy the venue. They were clearly targeting Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu had even more reason to go up against these two people from the ancient Zong family. Inside the Broad Joy Casino, Tai-Fai had already sent people to guard the various exits. There was a corner in Boyu Casino that was dedicated to resting. After all, they couldn't gamble here all day long. Sometimes, they needed to rest for more than 10 minutes, or they would eat something to refresh themselves. Zhang Feng and Zhang Yisaro occupied a VIP lounge. They rested comfortably on large chairs made of tiger skin. As the two of them rested, a commotion came from outside the door. It was obvious that this casino was very popular. It was daytime, but there were still so many people here. The situation was extremely intense. The two of them listened to the commotion outside and rested more peacefully. Outside the casino, the carriage stopped. Where are they? Tai-Fai asked. In the VIP lounge, they gave the people inside some money and sent them out. The person in the casino said. Then, he stared straight at the young master. There were many new faces in the casino, and naturally, there were many more talents. There were many alchemists in White Deer Manor who were constantly refining pills to provide for the people of these big factions to cultivate and increase their strength. Otherwise, the overall strength of White Deer Manor wouldn't have increased so quickly. In the early stages, they desperately spent money. Of course, the money that was thrown out was also recovered through other means. All of it was earned back. Currently, there were already 6 Yuan monarch-level powerhouses overseeing the Great Delight Casino. All of them obeyed Taifai's orders. Some people had only heard that the real owner of Boyu Casino was a young master called Li Zongjiu. Many people had heard of Li Zongjiu's reputation. There were even various legends about Li Zongjiu circulating in Boyu Casino. Very few of the newcomers had seen Li Zongjiu before. He was an extremely mysterious existence who held such a huge force in his hands. It was obvious that Li Zongjiu's strength was extremely terrifying. Otherwise, given Taifai's current strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to establish his own faction. However, Taifai was still loyal and never dared to have any second thoughts. Such a loyal person was even more admirable. However, the person who saw the deeper reason was that the boss above Taifei was the truly powerful one. Stop looking. This is our young master. If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyeballs out. Ah, yes, this lowly one greets young master. The person hurriedly said respectfully. After Li Zongjiu arrived, the people in the casino quickly cleared the place and sealed the door. Zhang Feng and Zhang Shan, who had been rushing for 5 days, suddenly woke up with a start. Something's wrong. Zhang Yishan flipped over and immediately reached for the dagger at his waist. There was a sharp glint in his eyes. His entire aura was restrained and he was like a ferocious tiger waiting to pounce. What's going on? Zhang Feng was a little confused. There's no sound outside. Zhang Yishan said in a low voice. Maybe the door is closed. Zhang Feng woke up and entered a state of alert. If the door was closed, they should have been woken up. Zhang Yishan dug a small hole in the wall. Just as he was about to peek, he saw a strong man swinging his fist at him from outside the wall. Boom! The wall shattered. A big hole was revealed. Come out. Zhang Yishan put away the dagger in his hand, and the murderous aura on his body disappeared. As a professional assassin, he had to cover up all his aura. He couldn't just walk into a place and let people know that he was an assassin. Concealing oneself was what a top-notch assassin should do. Zhang Yishan gestured to Zhang Feng. This gesture meant that he was ready to retreat at any time. However, it was better to go out and check the situation first. What if it was a misunderstanding? When the two of them walked out, they saw that the gambling tables around them had all been put away. A black mass of ferocious-looking people was staring at the two of them. Both the upper and lower floors were filled with these thugs. Such a large formation made Zhang Yishan and Zhang Yi puzzled. What's going on? Could it be that they were robbed? Is this actually a shady shop? A boy in gray sat at the center. There was a stack of peanuts and a pot of Biluakun tea in front of the boy's table. Drinking tea and eating peanuts was indeed a perfect match in the world of martial artists. I wonder how the two of us have offended you, big brothers, for you to have to put up such a formation. Zhang Yishan asked with a chuckle. Naturally, they were not afraid of the formation, but they had to look a little cowardly. Only then would the people across them lower their guard. Under normal circumstances, they would keep a low profile if they could. They would only attack when their lives were threatened, and they would not attack easily. Zhang Feng looked like a young man who had just entered the city from the countryside. If he needed to, he only needed 5 minutes to kill all the people in front of him. However, the ancient Zhang family was trained as an assassin. It was very expensive for them to kill people. Under normal circumstances, he would not kill anyone. Chapter 971. Faced with the current situation, Burying Night Sorrow was also thinking about how he had been careless and ended up being surrounded. It was too embarrassing. As a professional assassin, this situation was simply an insult to him. However, on the surface, he had been pretending to be ignorant. He wanted to tell the people in front of him that they had mistaken him for someone else. At the same time, when Burying Night Sorrow saw the grey-robed young man in front of him, he felt that he was familiar. However, he had never seen the grey-robed young man before. "You're sent by the ancient Zong family, right?" "I'm Li Zongjio," Li Zongjio said. Before he made his move, Li Zongjio was also thinking about how to deal with the two people in front of him. If he directly killed them, it would be a waste. With the skills of these two people, it would be a good choice to make them into shadow guards. That was because the two of them were good at pretending. Before this, the White Deer Manor had always been in a "don't offend others" situation. But now, if the Li family wanted to expand, they would have to use sufficient means. They needed to store up enough power to continuously become stronger and be prepared for danger in times of peace. If they continued to be in such a peaceful state throughout the process, they would definitely be beaten down in the future. If they did not improve, their enemies would. When that time came, they would encounter the same thing that their enemies had encountered before. They would be easily defeated. When Burying Night Sorrow heard that, he was instantly shocked. However, he still looked confused on the surface. Sir, what do you mean by that?" "I don't know," Burying Night Sorrow kept playing dumb. However, there was already a storm raging in his heart. Li Zongjio. Fuck, isn't that the target of the mission? Based on the Burying Night clan's style of doing things, they would collect enough information before taking action, then use all kinds of methods to create opportunities. However, this time, because the target was the Shengyan dynasty, they could not obtain the most timely information. Therefore, they needed to conduct an on-site investigation. Who would have thought that as soon as he arrived, he would be captured by Li Zongjio as soon as he settled down? Wasn't this a little too powerful? Could it be that he was the current crown prince? What a terrifying force! It had directly attracted them to this place and lured them into the trap set by Li Zongjio. They had unknowingly fallen for it. There must have been a lot of hints along the way. Burying Night Sorrow tried his best to recall where he had gone wrong. These were all fatal mistakes. However, no matter how hard Zong Night Sorrow tried to recall, he couldn't find any flaws. After all, he had chosen the Great Delight Casino himself. They had accidentally stumbled into Li Zongjio's territory, so they couldn't blame anyone else. Zhang Feng's facial expression was also very well disguised. The terror and fear in his eyes were also very well disguised. He looked at the scene in front of him with great timidity. As an assassin, there's no need for you to go back alive if you expose yourself. However, I'm in a good mood today, so one of you can live. Li Zongjio said flatly. It was naturally impossible for these people to trap the two elites from the ancient Zong family. Li Zongjio didn't count on these people either. However, the two of them could forget about escaping in front of Li Zongjio. Although we don't know what you're talking about, I'm afraid these people are still not enough to stop us. Zong Night Sorrow said coldly. Although we're from the countryside, we're not easy to bully. As soon as he said this, he immediately acted as if he wanted to fight. It was completely like an ordinary person who was deliberately pretending to fight. Young master, don't worry. Leave these two bumpkins to us. Immediately, a Yuan King elite walked out. He only needed one palm to kill the two ants in front of him. Just as the Yuan King elite attacked, Zhang Feng also took a step forward and pressed his finger on the other party's acupuncture point. He directly pushed the Yuan King elite back. He kept retreating backward. In the end, he sat on the ground. He couldn't tell that these two were true elites. All of you, back off. Li Zongjio said. Young master, the two of us didn't mean to offend you. If you want money, feel free to take it. However, if you think that the two of us are easy to bully, then I'm afraid it won't end well today." Immediately, the middle-aged man, Zong Night Sorrow, also slightly released his aura. It formed a threat. Even in front of Li Zongjiu and the others, he wasn't afraid. In addition, his attack just now was a deterrent to the others. "Is that so?" Li Zongjiu stood up. Zong Night Sorrow and Zong Feng both took a step back. The moment Li Zongjiu moved, he immediately felt a wave of pressure coming at him. This was clearly an extremely terrifying murderous aura. Their many years of killing experience told them that the Li Zongjiu before them was a sleeping ferocious beast. Once they came into contact with him, they would definitely face an extremely terrifying situation. "Be careful." Zong Night Sorrow reminded Zong Feng, who was behind him. However, in the next second, Li Zongjiu's figure was already in front of them. Boom! Each of them sent out a palm strike. Immediately, the two of them felt an extremely powerful threat descending upon them. They had to use all their strength to block it. Oh no! Bang bang! The two of them were directly sent flying. Zong Night Sorrow fell to the ground, while Zong Feng crashed into a stone pillar. The inner armor on their bodies shattered immediately. Pfft! Zong Night Sorrow spat out a mouthful of blood. "Run!" In the instant that they exchanged blows, they knew that Li Zongjiu was too powerful. He had already exceeded the level that they could withstand. This mission was indeed not that simple. In a direct confrontation, the assassins were already at a disadvantage. Originally, they wanted to carry out the assassination plan. However, now that they were forced to face him, they could only escape. Enduring the intense pain in his body, he wanted to turn around and escape. However, he realized that his strength had disappeared. What? This is. When he felt the power in his body disappear, Zong Feng also felt it. His strength seemed to have been covered up, and he could not use any of his origin energy. It was Li Zongjiu's doing. "I didn't expect this talisman stone to be so useful. This should be called the Lost Soul Talisman. I found it in the Ghost King's secret realm. Its effect can last for 3 days." Director Li said with a faint smile. What the hell? Zong Night Sorrow had never encountered such a situation before. In fact, it was the first time that he was caught before he could even take action. He did not even know what to do. He reckoned that he had fallen into Li Zongjiu's hands this time. There was no chance for him to escape. Holy Flame Capital City was his territory. Under the situation where there was no essence energy, how could they possibly escape this Li Zongjiu's demonic claws? "We're really not from the ancient Zong family. Hero, you've got the wrong person," Zong Night Sorrow said stubbornly. "Isn't the word ancient Zong carved on it?" Li Zongjiu took out a dagger. When he saw the dagger, Zong Night Sorrow touched his body and found that his dagger was indeed gone. Li Zongjiu's stealing skills were quite good. He had been caught red-handed. Zong Night Sorrow and Zong Feng also put away their previous attitude. "Don't struggle. Even if you kill the two of us, there will be more experts coming. Even if you hide here, you won't be able to escape," Zong Night Sorrow said coldly. Zong Feng was even more shocked. The man in front of him was about the same age as him, but he was able to kill the two of them in an instant. At the same time, when it came to assassination, Zong Feng was naturally confident that he was better than Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu's strength was too abnormal. Zong Night Sorrow's strength was already at the first stage Origin Emperor realm, but he was still ambushed by Li Zongjiu. If an assassin at the first stage Origin Emperor realm prepared carefully for an assassination, it would be easy to kill a third stage Origin Emperor realm expert, or even a fourth stage Origin Emperor realm expert. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, they did not have the slightest ability to fight back. Moreover, their strength was sealed. "All of you can stay here and be properly disciplined." Li Zongjiu said. Next, it was Taifai's turn. Taifai was naturally familiar with disciplining people. He directly used torture tools to lock up the two of them. Chapter 972. Just like that, two of the ancient Zong family's top assassins became prisoners. The change and development of the situation was unexpected. Before they could even take action, they were already captured by Li Zongjiu. He was too domineering. However, being trapped in this place gave the two of them a chance. At least they still had time. Besides, they were in a place like this. If they wanted to assassinate Li Zongjiu, they would have enough time to gather information. Li Zongjiu was powerful, but his mistake was that he was too arrogant. You actually allowed two assassins to do things under your nose. The information they can gather will be beyond your imagination. As long as they were not harmed, they still had a chance to complete their mission. What they needed to do now was to lay low in this place. Wait for an opportunity to appear. Li Zongjiu naturally did not have that much time to play with the two assassins. The soul-losing talisman was a treasure he found in the Ghost King's secret realm. It was not easy to remove it. Li Zongjiu was confident that he could control them for 3 days. Back in White Deer Manor, Li Zongjiu entered the training room. The demonic hammer in his hand seemed to want to go berserk again. By the looks of it, it needed fresh blood to nurture it. Motherfucker, what the hell are you? Since you like to cause trouble, I'll train you properly. Li Zongjiu had long been annoyed by the hammer. It kept causing trouble for him, so it was no wonder that Li Zongjiu was so angry. Li Zongjiu immediately summoned the Shura cauldron in his hand. The Shura cauldron fell to the ground with a bang. There were 3 grooves in the ground that were specifically used to place the legs of the Shura cauldron. Li Zongjiu threw the demonic hammer in his hand into one of the grooves. The demonic hammer in front of him seemed to be extremely manic. It was rampaging inside the Shura cauldron, trying to break out. So manic. Li Zongjiu did not hold back. He immediately summoned the 3 Yuan dragons and suppressed the demonic hammer. When the demonic hammer sensed the appearance of the Yuan dragons, it seemed to be slightly fearful. At that moment, it calmed down. Li Zongjiu activated the obsidian fire to refine it. Although the obsidian fire was strong, it seemed to be powerless in front of the demonic hammer. Li Zongjiu suddenly felt the darkness Yuan dragon in his body that had never cultivated, evolved, and had never been of any use. But at that moment, it appeared on its own initiative and rushed towards the demonic hammer. Boom! The demonic hammer's body immediately, as if it was hit by a huge blow. Seeing this, Li Zongjiu's white dragon Yuan spirit also turned into a pure mental energy. Li Zongjiu separated a part of his consciousness and landed on the white dragon Yuan spirit. He directly entered the Azura cauldron and instantly entered the inner world of the demonic hammer. At this moment, black dragon flames were lingering around Devil Hammer. This was the black dragon Yuan spirit attacking with all its might. The black dragon Yuan spirit was indeed difficult to deal with. However, the black dragon Yuan spirit was already half subdued by Li Zongjiu. Thus, Li Zongjiu couldn't find the time to deal with it. When Li Zongjiu drove the white dragon Yuan spirit into the inner world of the demonic hammer, immediately, he felt the energy coming from the surroundings. It turned out that there was a resentment force inside the demonic hammer that had been entangled with it. Li Zongjiu also only saw it now. It was like a curse that had been engraved on the demonic hammer. After the Darkness Origin Dragon appeared, it used its Darkness Dragon flames to burn away the curse before it. Boom! The power of the curse emerged and erupted from time to time, requiring Li Zongjiu to constantly kill people and suppress it with fresh blood. Even Li Zongjiu had never seen such a situation before. But Li Zongjiu could feel that he was extremely young in front of this curse. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had cultivated for 3,000 years. Logically speaking, everything in the world had a feeling of youth. Even if it was 100-year-old tree or 1,000-year-old ancient tree, its sense of history was not as strong as Li Zongjiu's. But in front of the power of the curse, Li Zongjiu was like an incomparably tender sprout. To be able to give Li Zongjiu such a feeling, this meant that this curse was no longer an existence of the same era as Li Zongjiu. The Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul also desperately displayed its heaven-defying methods. In the end, after a bitter battle, the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul used its broken body, but under the majesty of the Supreme Dragon's soul, it also directly broke the curse that had existed for an unknown period of time. At the same time, the Darkness Yuan Dragon's soul also fell on the demonic hammer. A force repelled Li Zongjiu and the White Dragon Yuan spirit outside. After exiting the inner world of the demonic hammer, Li Zongjiu's figure fell back. Seeing this scene, the demonic hammer in the Azura cauldron was constantly releasing the power of the Darkness Yuan Dragon soul. It's transforming into an artifact spirit. Li Zongjiu did not stop this from happening. With the temperament of the Darkness Yuan Dragon soul, if its strength was insufficient, it would absolutely not appear so easily. This time, it took the initiative to pursue and attack, which was enough to show that even the Darkness Yuan Dragon soul had its eyes on this hammer. Under the cooperation of two strong entities, they would only become stronger. Looks like this transformation still needs some time. Li Zongjiu placed the undying cauldron here. Just as he was about to cultivate, a loud noise suddenly sounded. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in the manor. Then, an extremely terrifying force was released and soared into the sky. Boom! As the force soared into the sky, almost the entire royal city was shaken. It was so powerful. The entire royal city's attention was focused on the White Deer Manor. Li Zongjiu did not panic. He knew that this must be the movement of Nangong Wuji's breakthrough. Not bad. He recovered in half a day. It seems that he has made some progress. He could sense that Nangong Wuji had directly stepped into the 7th grade primitive emperor realm. He could easily overturn mountains and seas. Nangong Wuji couldn't help but laugh out loud when he saw such a terrifying power. Damn it! I've endured for so long. Finally, I've made it. Nangong Wuji immediately laughed out loud. Fortunately, the White Deer Manor was big enough. Otherwise, if his laughter was heard by the neighbors, they would think that there was a madman in the manor. The 9th prince, who was wiping the floor of the alchemy building, was stunned when he heard the noise. Nangong Wuji. Isn't that the founder of the Wuji Palace? What a powerful force. Primitive Emperor Realm. He's at least in the late stage of the Primitive Emperor Realm. Lu Wenshan gazed at the sky and said. In the next moment, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the back mountain. Obviously, Nangong Wuji had just made a breakthrough and had nowhere to vent his cultivation. In the manor, only Li Zongjiu was strong enough for Nangong Wuji to fight. The King of Fire had already left. However, even if Nangong Wuji went to find the King of Fire, he would not dare to be too arrogant. Therefore, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the Sky Blaze Lion. He wanted to fight the Sky Blaze Lion one-on-one. These days, the Sky Blaze Lion had become fatter under the care of the Yuan Beast Workshop. Although it did not need to go out to look for food, it only needed to cultivate every day. However, the ferocious beast aura that reached the heavens was still difficult to conceal when he attacked. Ahem, I have something to do today. I'll fight with you another day. When Nangong Wuji got closer to the Sky Blaze Lion, he felt that the other party's temper was not good. Therefore, Nangong Wuji turned around and left without hesitation. Sky Blaze Lion, you always steal the spiritual fruits I plant. Today, I'm going to fight with you. After saying that, Nangong Wuji rushed toward the Sky Blaze Lion with an aggressive aura. However, the Sky Blaze Lion was very good at burrowing. When it burrowed down, no one knew where it was hiding. Nangong Wuji could not find it. In the end, he had no choice but to fight with Hong Shirsan. How could Hong Shirsan be willing to fight with this guy? He directly said that he was going to beg for food and ran out with his broken bowl. Chapter 973. Nangong Wuji, who had been wandering around for a whole day, was on the verge of exploding. Just as Nangong Wuji was about to rush to the imperial palace or some other place to show off his skills, a figure suddenly appeared. A figure blocked Nangong Wuji's way. "Oh, you've made a breakthrough." Li Zongjiu looked at Nangong Wuji with a strange smile on his face. Nangong Wuji, who was familiar with Li Zongjiu, started to panic. Usually, nothing good would come out of Li Zongjiu's appearance. Now that Li Zongjiu had taken the initiative to appear in front of him with such a strange smile, Nangong Wuji became vigilant. "Hee, not bad, not bad. This medicinal pill of yours is quite fierce." Nangong Wuji rubbed his hands and looked around for something. Finally, he realized something. "I still have a building blueprint that I haven't finished yet. If you can withstand one of my attacks, I'll refine another elixir for you." Nangong Wuji turned around and was about to leave. However, when he heard Li Zongjiu's words, he suddenly stopped. No one could resist such a temptation. Moreover, Nangong Wuji had just tasted the sweetness of the elixir. The feeling of his strength skyrocketing was really amazing. If he could do it again, he felt that he would return to the time when he was young and strong. "You said it yourself." Nangong Wuji suddenly became excited. He looked at Li Zongjiu in front of him, fearing that Li Zongjiu would go back on his words. "Come on, I don't believe that I can't withstand one of your attacks," Nangong Wuji said as he activated his defensive aura. Since he only needed to withstand one attack, he didn't need to do too much. He only needed to activate his defensive aura to withstand Li Zongjiu's attack to the greatest extent. If he were to fight Li Zongjiu one-on-one, he might not have a chance of winning. Even after his breakthrough, Nangong Wuji didn't dare to boast that he could defeat Li Zongjiu. That was not a problem. "I've been cultivating the Wuji Universe Shield for many years just to deal with arrogant people like you." Yuanli surged around Nangong Wuji's body and circulated around him. The Yuanli could be seen gathering little by little, forming a kind of defense with heaven and earth. It was connecting heaven and earth. There were no gaps. If this was in any other place, this move alone would be enough to dominate and suppress all other heroes. When Li Zongjiu saw this move, Nangong Wuji, he smiled. Of Nangong Wuji's attack. "If you're ready, I'll come." Then, Li Zongjiu extended his hand and beckoned, and a small black hammer appeared in his hand. Thereof of Nong Wuji's of Yuanli je saw. If one were to take a closer look, they would see that the patterns on it were in the shape of a giant dragon. Li Zongjiu lifted the hammer in his hand and walked towards Nangong Wuji. Nangong Wuji was about 20 meters away from Nangong Wuji. He lifted the hammer and smashed it down. Li Zongjiu's action was as simple as smashing a nail. Nangong Wuji couldn't even sense any yuan energy fluctuation from Li Zongjiu's body. However, this move made Nangong Wuji's expression change drastically. What? The defensive shield in front of Nangong Wuji was torn apart inch by inch, as if it was withstanding a terrifying force. Fuck. What's going on? Nangong Wuji didn't even have the chance to sense the source of this force. Soon, his defensive shield was torn apart. Fuck. Nangong Wuji couldn't withstand the great pressure from this force. He jumped up, but it was too late to escape. The invisible force from the hammer sent Nangong Wuji flying hundreds of meters away. Nangong Wuji was smashed out of White Deer Manor. Nangong Wuji flew far away and disappeared. Although Nangong Wuji did this to reduce the force and prevent himself from getting hurt, he still smashed a big hole in the ground when he landed. This guy, this force. Nangong Wuji was frightened. Nangong Wuji almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The hidden energy almost rushed into his body and damaged it. Fortunately, he managed to withstand it in the end. However, this move was too terrifying for Nangong Wuji. He forced the hidden force out of his body. Fortunately, he had chosen a place with few people when he landed. By the time the special envoy arrived, Nangong Wuji had already disappeared. Nangong Wuji couldn't help but admire Li Zongjio when he returned. "Your hammer, what kind of hammer is it?" Nangong Wuji asked in shock. "It's a new name. Let's call it Black Dragon Hammer." Li Zongjio tossed the hammer in his hand. The Black Dragon primordial spirit had already fused with the Black Dragon Hammer, so it was now in his hand. Li Zongjio already had two weapons, both of which possessed weapon spirits. This was very rare. The power of the Black Dragon Hammer was unimaginable. Even Nangong Wuji was easily defeated by Li Zongjio when he fully released his defensive power. If Li Zongjio's strength was a little stronger, it would be even more terrifying. Black Dragon Hammer. Did you make it yourself? No, I picked it up outside. Li Zongjio said. It was more or less picked up. After all, it was in that place and had never been moved. It was just that no one had thought of it and no one had been able to get it. Amazing, Nangong Wuji said with heartfelt admiration. Don't give it such an arrogant name. Otherwise, people will really think that there is a dragon in it. Li Zongjio didn't deny it and just smiled. It's more frightening. People will be scared when they hear it. Although the name sounds a little silly, when a giant dragon really appears in this disposal, then you guys will be in for a surprise. I heard that you recently offended the Hua family. Do you want me to help you? Nangong Wuji said. After all, the Hua family had a military background. Li Zongjio's matter was not serious, but it was not trivial either. He broke the arm of the Hua family's third master and threw the young talent of the Hua family, Hua Qing, on the street. This was almost a slap to the family's face. No, it's just a Hua family. Li Zongjio shook his head. Li Yun was already dealing with this matter. If the Hua family really had the guts, they would have already come to kill them. The Hua family could wait until now. Obviously, Li Yun had stopped them. Li Zongjio didn't care what the situation was. You're really quite capable. Nangong Wuji knew about the Hua family's situation. Li Zongjio was able to deal with them without batting an eyelid, which was enough to prove his strength. It was not just a few casinos or pawn shops that could deal with them. It's still early. Li Zongjio said indifferently. His current achievements and power were obviously not enough for Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio had a broader world to explore in the future. Nangong Wuji couldn't see through the young man in front of him. At the same time, he wanted to see how far Li Zongjio could go. If ordinary people had Li Zongjio's achievements, they would have drifted to God knows where long ago. However, Li Zongjio was as steady as ever. He was never arrogant. He even hid his strength and bided his time. He kept improving his strength and didn't care about external factors at all. A person who could achieve this was truly terrifying. Being powerful for a while was nothing. There would always be a time when one would encounter difficulties or even meet someone who was stronger than one. However, Li Zongjio was never complacent. He was even clear about his goals. Either Li Zongjio had seen the world, or Li Zongjio had experienced a great tribulation. What kind of situation was it? Nangong Wuji naturally couldn't figure it out. Chapter 974. Although Nangong Wuji had lost the battle, he couldn't even withstand a single blow from Li Zongjio. Were the young people nowadays so powerful? Were they not giving the old people a chance to survive? If this continued, the old people like them wouldn't be able to survive anymore. Therefore, Li Zongjio could eliminate them at any time. However, Li Zongjio said that if Nangong Wuji was willing, he could stay in the White Deer Manor for a year. At the same time, he could help him train the disciples of the Li family when he was free. He could guarantee that Nangong Wuji's cultivation would reach the peak of the primitive emperor realm within 2 years. If other people dared to make such a promise, Nangong Wuji would definitely slap them to death. However, since it was Li Zongjiu, everything was different. Nangong Wuji knew that Li Zongjiu would do what he said. Therefore, Nangong Wuji trusted Li Zongjiu very much. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to get such an opportunity even if they wanted it. However, Nangong Wuji came at the right time. Anyway, Li Zongjiu didn't restrict his personal freedom, let alone 2 years. Moreover, what could happen in Monarch City? The 4 primitive emperor-level soul beasts in the back of the mountain weren't vegetarians. They basically ate meat. Therefore, Nangong Wuji had picked up a great bargain. Moreover, the White Deer Manor was designed by him. Naturally, it was very familiar to live in such a place. Nangong Wuji agreed without hesitation. The place where Nangong Wuji and the other experts lived was designated as the guest courtyard. After testing the power of the Black Dragon Hammer, Li Zongjiu was very satisfied. Night fell. Lu Pei came to report that Su Sha of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had come to see him. What's the matter? Li Zongjiu invited Su Sha to sit down. Su Sha's ability was pretty good. Li Zongjiu also thought highly of her, but she still needed to temper herself. Of course, there's good news. Previously, the upper echelons of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion were discussing about giving you a reward. They've already received it. Now, they've asked me to deliver it to you. Su Sha said with a mysterious smile. Oh. There really is something here. I thought this trip was a waste. Li Zongjiu said. In fact, this trip to the Haiku dynasty was not a loss at all. Li Zongjiu had never been at a disadvantage. It was always others who were at a disadvantage. Until now, the people of the Hell Arena were still looking for Li Zongjiu, the man codenamed Evil Lord. This Evil Lord had killed 2 of the strongest experts in the arena and disappeared without a trace. Of course, some people also said that this Evil Lord was Li Zongjiu of the Shenyan dynasty. He was one of the top alchemists in the 3 dynasties pill gathering. Not only did he have great fighting strength, but he also knew how to refine pills. Where could such a person be found? This time, returning from the Haiku dynasty was not a loss. He had obtained many benefits. The Black Dragon Hammer was one of them. The other was this Qi Yanran. Even Li Zongjiu did not expect such a thing to happen. It happened naturally. This was unanimously approved by the parliament. Deputy Pavilion Master Chu spent a lot of time talking. Su Sha took out the item from her storage ring. It was a sealed jar. It looked like a transparent glass jar. Inside the jar was a pile of dark red liquid. The jar was the size of a human head. However, the volume of the dark red liquid was nearly half of the jar's size. Furthermore, there was a layer of seal on the jar. When he saw the seal, Li Zongjiu also opened his eyes wide. Damn, he really managed to get this thing. Li Zongjiu looked at the thing inside the jar. This Heavenly Pill Pavilion really put in a lot of effort to win him over. Regardless of what the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's goal was, Li Zongjiu was very satisfied with this result. Because what was in the jar was none other than nothing else. It was dragon blood. He was very familiar with the power of dragon blood. Back then, when Li Zongjiu was fighting a bloody battle, he had drunk a lot of this fresh and hot dragon blood. Therefore, he was very familiar with dragon blood. 3 drops of dragon blood. This is the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's reward for Elder Li's hard work. Please accept it. Su Sha said with a smile. Li Zongjiu was naturally very happy. With his current realm, it was impossible to get dragon blood. If he went to fight a dragon with his current strength, he would be easily beaten up by a group of dragons. It was because he had come into contact with these dragons in his previous life and knew how powerful they were. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was more careful and vigilant. He would not easily provoke these guys. With dragon blood and some elixirs, I can continue to refine 6 more heavenly dragon elixirs. Li Zongjiu said. With your status, you can use any of the herbs in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's shop without any charge. Su Sha looked at Li Zongjiu and said. She was worried that Li Zongjiu did not know about the benefits of being an honorary elder. Therefore, she reminded him. Such a good opportunity could not be wasted. These were the rights of an honorary elder. Well, there's such a good thing. Li Zongjiu said in surprise. In that case, wouldn't he be able to save a lot of money? Although Li Zongjiu was very rich now, being thrifty was a virtue. Of course, you still don't know. Your honorary elder signboard is useful wherever you go. Su Sha's face was full of regret. Li Zongjiu was one of the few people who had obtained the honorary elder token of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, he did not know how to use it properly. It was too wasteful. Then I'll try it tomorrow. It was not early. After Su Sha delivered the items, she left. Li Zongjiu did not have the habit of keeping people for meals. He personally sent Su Sha to the door and arranged for her to get on the carriage. 3 drops of dragon blood. This was definitely a big deal from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. If he used the dragon blood, Li Zongjiu's current realm would be better for him to break through. When he was free, Li Zongjiu's task was to cultivate and cultivate. Occasionally, he would check on the Li family's disciples. These young disciples of the Li family were sent to the White Deer Manor. First, they had to undergo a devilish training. Everyone had to persevere. After going through the hellish training every day, they would use some medicinal liquid to recover. Everyone had to have a body made of iron. This way, they would be able to improve in the following trials and become a strong expert. Although the process was arduous, the results were very obvious. Under the powerful financial support of the White Deer Manor. In just 2 short months, these Li family disciples' cultivation results had surpassed the results of a year's cultivation in Wuxia City. This amazing result was also unrelated to Li Yun's Yuan rune array. 2 days later, Taifai hurriedly reported. He said that the 2 people surnamed Zhang had escaped. Originally, the soulless talisman was fake. However, the 2 of them used some unknown method to undo the effect of the soulless talisman and escaped. Where can they escape to? Li Zongjiu smiled disdainfully. The 1,000 Machine Workshop had already locked onto the 2 of them. These 2 top-notch assassins were actually hiding in the Gu family. Obviously, the 2 of them had inquired about the huge conflict between the Gu family and Li Zongjiu. Therefore, it was impossible for Li Zongjiu to set foot in the Gu family's territory. However, it was a pity that the 2 of them were really unlucky. They thought that they would be relatively safe in the Gu family. Even if Li Zongjiu knew about it, he would not dare to come. However, they did not know that not long ago, the Gu family's patriarch had died in the hands of Li Zongjiu. Chapter 975. Previously, Li Zongjiu had completely annihilated the Gu family in the Sacred Flame Royal City. He had also given the Heavenly Hell Python a good meal. The terrifying sound that had been heard from the Gu family that day still caused the people nearby to tremble. After that, there was no one left in the Gu family. Of course, most of the Gu family's businesses had not gone bankrupt. After the Gu family in the Jin region learned of the situation, they immediately sent people over to stabilize the businesses in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Although a group of people had died, the Gu family in the Jin region did not suffer too much loss. It could even be said that Gu Yu and his group had been placed here as hostages. If anything happened, they would naturally be the first to be sacrificed. Therefore, they had already made preparations for such a situation. Among the new batch of people, there were only a total of 5 people, and they easily took over the situation here. Li Zongjiu was so arrogant and did not put the Gu family in his eyes because he had the support of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion behind him. Before they were fully prepared, the Gu family was not prepared to deal with Li Zongjiu in such a hurry. After all, dealing with Li Zongjiu would require them to pay a huge price. How could the many years of preparation be destroyed in a single day? However, the inheritance flame that had fallen into Li Zongjiu's hands had to be taken back. This inheritance flame was just a small flame, but it had already made the Ancient One an alchemy genius in the entire Sacred Flame Royal City. The inheritance flame existed in the Gu family's territory in the Jin region. Such a powerful object was enough to show the hidden strength of the Gu family. How could a family that could make the Sacred Flame Royal City so wary be so simple? Even now, if the Shengyan dynasty wanted to do anything in the Jin region, they would have to look at the Gu family's face. If the Gu family secretly caused trouble for them, they would not be able to find any traces. When the time came, they would be killed immediately. The outcome would be very tragic. Therefore, the officials sent by the Shengyan dynasty to the Jin province had a hard time. However, the influence of the Gu family had been shrinking bit by bit. Several powerful families had appeared in the Jin province. It was obvious that the royal family of the Shengyan dynasty was behind them. These families were specially supported to deal with the Gu family. At such a critical juncture, of course, he had to be more cautious. The person in charge of the Gu clan in the Holy Flame Royal City was an elder of the Gu clan. When he was young, he served in the Gu family's law enforcement hall. Later on, he retired from the law enforcement hall and entered the Senate hall. When this old man took up his post, he sternly reorganized the Gu family's style. He had cleaned up many of the cowardly pests in the Gu clan, sweeping them out one by one. This person's name was Gu Sha. At this moment, the other four main members of the Gu family were also tidying up the Gu family's businesses. What needed to be taken care of was taken care of, and what needed to be abandoned was abandoned. Such a huge business of the Gu family was actually settled by a mere 5 people. In front of Gu Sha sat 2 people. A middle-aged man sat on Gu Sha's left. This middle-aged man was called Gu Yao. He was Gu Yu's cousin. At the same time, he was also an elder of the Gu family. Being sent out had already proven his strength. Gu Yao looked at the 2 people sitting opposite him. Why did Elder Gu Sha have to be so careful when receiving these 2 people? Gu Yao was puzzled, but he did not voice it out. After all, he could not possibly question the elder's mistakes. Therefore, Gu Yao put down this thought in his heart. He was also sizing up the 2 people in front of him. I didn't expect the Gu family, one of the 4 big families in the Divination Flame Empire, to be so low-key. Zhang Yishang said. Gu Yao was shocked by his words. He actually dared to mention the Divination Flame Empire. He even knew that the Gu family was one of the 4 big families, which meant that he knew about the glory days of the Gu family. Upon hearing this, Gu Sha's stern face relaxed slightly. In the blink of an eye, 300 years have passed. Back then, who dared to stand in the way of the Gu family? Who dared to touch us? Gu Sha leaned on the back of the chair, as if he was reminiscing about the glory days of the Gu family. His eyes were filled with melancholy. Back then, the Zhang family was as famous as the Gu family. Why hasn't there been any news recently? I heard that you secretly went to the Haiku dynasty to be assassins. Gu Sha looked at the 2 people in front of him and said. Back then, the family relied on their own abilities to survive until now. If they did not have any abilities, how could they survive until now? Therefore, the 2 people from the Zhang family in front of him only looked weak on the outside. In fact, Gu Sha did not dare to underestimate their abilities. I'm just trying to make a living. I'm tired of the disputes in the underworld, but I can't lose my ancestral skills. Zhang Yishang said. However, if you want to go against Li Zongjiu in the Shengyan dynasty, I advise you to give up. Gu Sha said in a deep voice. He stared at the two people in front of him. Only then did Gu Yao understand that the two people in front of him were from the Zong family. The strongest assassin family in 1,000 years. Now that they had fallen to such a state, why didn't they reappear in the underworld? It was because they did not have the confidence to reach the peak. Could it be that you want the former number one in the world to reappear in the underworld and obediently become number two? People who cared about their reputation would not do that. Therefore, with the current situation, it was better for them to hide from the world and not come out. Otherwise, there was an extremely rare situation, which was that they were invincible in the world. Therefore, they chose to hide. Since there were no opponents, there was no pressure. What was the point of staying in the underworld? After hearing the origin of the Zong family's assassins, they actually wanted to go against Li Zongjiu. How could the Gu family not want to go against Li Zongjiu too? However, Li Zongjiu's strength was too strong. If the Gu family really wanted to go against him, they would really need the help of elders. At least 3 or 4 of them would be needed. The main reason was that if they went against Li Zongjiu, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would definitely not let it go. Then, the matter would not be so easy to solve. There was no need to mess up the Gu family's plans for a single Li Zongjiu. That was why the Gu family had not made a move yet and did not provoke Li Zongjiu for the time being. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu was a man of principle. After killing a wave of people, as long as they did not act rashly, he would not continue to attack them. However, if the Gu family tried to provoke Li Zongjiu again, the situation might change. The Zong family might not be active in the underworld, but we've never given up on our old business. How could we, the Gu family, care about a mere Li Zongjiu? Zhang Yishang instantly laughed loudly. It seemed like these people from the Gu clan had been hiding for a long time. They were actually scared to this extent. Zhang Yishang and the others were not afraid at all. Their spirit was not weak at all. Not to mention Li Zongjiu, if they were given enough money. If they had enough money, they would even take the head of the emperor of the Shengyan dynasty. Of course, the prerequisite was that they had to be able to pay the price. But we're new here, and we're not familiar with the place. We'll need the help of some friends. Zhang Yishang's attitude changed. He shamelessly asked the Gu family to provide him with a place to hide. After all, Li Zongjiu had eyes and ears all over the city. If he wanted to quietly come up with an assassination plan, he would need someone to cover him. He did not need to cover other places, but this time, he had exposed his identity. Someone must have leaked the news beforehand. Otherwise, the two of them would not have ended up in such an awkward situation. For Zhang Yishang, there was nothing he could do about it. Ahem. When Gu Yao heard Zhang Yishang spouting nonsense, he thought that he was very capable, but in the end, he still had to ask for the Gu family's help. If you can get rid of Li Zongjiu, then I'll be happy for a while. But you can't stay here. I'll have someone send you out of the city. Tomorrow, go to Western Village Town and disguise yourselves. Then, follow the merchant group back to the city. The Gu family still had the power to send someone out of the city secretly. When the people from Thousand Chances Workshop saw Zhang Yishang and Gu Yao enter the Gu family, they did not come out. Chapter 976. When Taifai came to report. Li Zongjiu had just received the 3 drops of dragon blood and was not in the mood to deal with these assassins. Li Zongjiu was not in a hurry to ask for herbs from the Sky Elixir Pavilion. If that was the case, he might have to wait or there might be other reasons. Furthermore, White Deer Manor had a lot of herbs in storage. It would not be a problem to take out some herbs. That night, Li Zongjiu refined 2 Sky Dragon Elixir pills. He kept the Sky Dragon Elixir pills well. Qi Yanran had just consumed one and had no use for it. The rest of the people did not need this elixir pill. However, Li Zongjiu was prepared to send this elixir pill to Wuxia city for his father to consume. He had not returned for a long time and did not know how his father's cultivation was progressing. With the Sky Blaze Lion King technique and the help of some elixir pills given by Li Zongjiu, he should be reaching the Yuan monarch realm soon. After he broke through to the Yuan monarch realm, he would help him refine the Sky Dragon elixir pills in the normal way. At that time, his father's strength would also reach a higher level. Using elixir pills to create elites was also one of Li Zongjiu's specialties. In his previous life, when Li Zongjiu was bored, he had also tried to use elixir pills to help someone with a little cultivation foundation improve their strength in the shortest time possible. In the end, in just 3 months, Li Zongjiu had created an primitive emperor elite. It could be said that this was a very terrifying achievement at the time. However, this primitive emperor elite died not long after. Because his foundation was still there and he did not have enough foundation to support such a huge power, his body exploded and he died in a few days. However, this also proved the power of Li Zongjiu's elixir pills. If Li Zongjiu wanted, he could easily help someone break through the bottleneck that had been stuck for more than a decade and improve their strength. Just thinking about it was incredible. Ordinary people would not even dare to imagine such a thing. However, in such a situation, there were not many benefits. Things like cultivation had to be done step by step. The foundation had to be stable in order to be able to support the strength of the future. Tai, go and gather the troops. We'll go and get them. Tai Fei's heart was filled with apprehension the entire night. After all, he was the one who let them go. It was his fault, but fortunately, Li Zongjiu did not seem to blame him. If these 2 top assassins were so easily guarded, then they were too weak, so it was very normal for them to be able to escape. It's already been prepared. We'll set off at any time, Tai said. After receiving the news that these 2 people were hiding in the Gu clan, Tai almost impulsively led his men to kill them. Previously, the Gu clan had been destroyed by Li Zongjiu. Although they later rose from the ashes, the Gu clan was definitely a hostile force against Li Zongjiu. Fortunately, his subordinates persuaded him to stay. It was better to discuss this matter with the young master first. Thus, Tai came. However, before he came, he had already gathered his men and was ready to set off at any time. Previously, Li Zongjiu was used to solving problems by himself because it was convenient. However, it was different now. Now that his wings were fully developed, there was no need to be secretive. He wanted to openly intimidate them and make the people of the city remember that in the future, no one who walked out of the White Deer Manor could be offended. He believed that the person called War God Maple should have remembered this very clearly. Li Zongjiu brought Tai with him, and there were about 20 people behind them. More than half of them were Yuan monarch experts. Of course, such a lineup would not be able to cause too much trouble. However, as long as Li Zongjiu was here, things would be stable. After this, once the name of White Deer Manor spread, there would definitely be more experts who would come to seek refuge. Moreover, the peak of their combat strength would be at the Yuan monarch level. Generally, Yuan monarch experts were forbidden to make a move unless they were really forced to. Previously, many Yuan monarchs had exchanged blows with Li Zongjiu and been killed because Li Zongjiu was too arrogant, causing them to be helpless. However, in the end, these people were still killed by Li Zongjiu, and their fates were even worse. The reason why the primitive emperors weren't punished was because most of them were dead. Moreover, the fight between them didn't hurt any ordinary people. As long as these ordinary people were not harmed, it would not matter even if the sky fell and the earth cracked. However, if the people of the Shengyan dynasty were harmed, the royal family of the Shengyan dynasty would definitely intervene. No matter what, they had to display the prestige of the royal family. More than 10 Yuan monarch experts. Such a lineup was already extremely tyrannical. The group of people blocked the entrance of the Gu family's gate. The 2 guards of the Gu family's gate did not even have time to report before they were sent flying by an Yuan monarch expert. The gate of the Gu family's gate was also kicked open. I already gave you a chance last time, yet you still dare to go against me. Tear down their walls. Li Zongjiu pointed at the walls on both sides of the gate. For ordinary people, just kicking open the gate was already a serious provocation. Now, even the walls were being torn down, which was even more shocking. Immediately, two people walked out and raised their hands to push down the walls in front of them. Rumble. Dust filled the air. Gu Sha was in the main hall. When Li Zongjiu and the rest set off, he had already received the news. He had thought that Li Zongjiu would at least give him some face and let him ask whatever he wanted. In short, he did not. If he wanted to search the Gu family's gate, he would have to give some excuses. After that, he would let Li Zongjiu's men search the Gu family's gate. If they could not find anyone, they would naturally leave. However, looking at Li Zongjiu's menacing manner, he had torn down the Gu family's gate the moment he arrived. He was obviously here to fight. Family head, Li Zongjiu ordered his men to tear down our walls. What? Gu Sha's face was as dark as water. Gu Yao immediately stood up. He is too arrogant. He is simply looking down on the Gu family. Today, I want to meet this Li Zongjiu. Gu Yao's eyes were blazing with anger. He could explode at any time. He was obviously here to humiliate the Gu family. What are you doing? Stop it. Ah! Some of the Gu family's guards wanted to step forward to stop them, but they were immediately sent flying. These guards of the Gu clan were all recruited later on and there was no lack of ferocious individuals. However, these people were here to earn a living. When they saw Li Zongjiu, who had an illustrious reputation in the city, leading people over, how could they be willing to step forward? Immediately, they hid to the side. They did not dare to show themselves. Looks like there are quite a lot of people in the Gu family. If you don't want to die today, hand over the person. After Li Zongjiu walked in, he directly said to the people in the hall. Chapter 977. As an elder of the Gu family. To be able to enter the Doyan Hall, one had to make a great contribution to the Gu family. To determine the contribution, one had to see how many people one had killed for the Gu family and how much money one had earned. This was the most direct method. Obviously, the more people Gu Sha killed, the more money he earned. That was why he had entered the Council of Grand Elders. Now, he was a Grand Elder, and had come to oversee the place where the problem had arisen. The number of people Gu Sha had killed was uncountable. Moreover, when he was in charge of the law enforcement hall, he used ruthless methods to rectify the family. At that time, he became an executioner that everyone feared. The murderous aura that he had cultivated for many years had turned into an ordinary aura at this time. Most of it was hidden. He hid this murderous aura within his body. On the surface, he was trying his best to be friendly. Young Master Li, please be patient. I am Gu Sha from the Gu family. I am now an elder. Coincidentally, I was acquainted with your deputy pavilion master Chu back then. Gu Sha looked at Li Zongjiu, who had rushed in exasperatedly. He was not in a hurry and said slowly. As he spoke, he tried his best to appease Li Zongjiu. Moreover, he even brought up Vice Pavilion Master Chu. Obviously, he wanted to worm his way into being friends with Yi Shiwen. To him, it was a piece of cake to keep a 3-year-old kid in his good books. Cut the crap. It is useless even if you know my father. Li Zongjiu said directly. Smash everything here. Li Zongjiu ordered. Many of the furnishings in the hall were antiques. Often, there would be some famous guests who would come to discuss matters. If the items placed here were not of good quality, there would be no business. The Gu family was an extremely ancient family. These antiques were all authentic. He had never thought that Li Zongjiu and the others were like barbaric bandits. When the people behind him heard this, they thought that since they had someone backing them, it was a great thing to be able to come to the Gu family's residence in Royal City to cause trouble. Therefore, each of them smashed more vigorously than the last. Li Zongjio, don't go overboard. Do you really think that my Gu family is afraid of you? Gu Yao bared his teeth and glared at Li Zongjio as if he wanted to dig Li Zongjio's head out. Oh, you're not afraid of me? Just based on this little old man's strength of a 5th-stage primitive emperor. Li Zongjio smiled disdainfully. There was actually someone who dared to challenge him in front of him. Now, as long as this supreme being expert did not appear, Li Zongjio had nothing to fear. Seeing that Li Zongjio had seen through his true strength, he was shocked. Gu Sha's face changed. Let's not talk about how Li Zongjio knew his true strength. Even though he knew his cultivation level, he still dared to be so arrogant. This showed that he had nothing to fear. A 5th-stage origin emperor was already considered a mid-stage origin emperor expert. Even if such an expert killed a few unimportant imperial court officials, the Shengyan dynasty would not necessarily pursue the matter. This was a symbol of strength. Even if you killed a city lord, as long as you were sincere enough, the Shengyan dynasty would not make things difficult for such a tyrannical primitive emperor expert. Previously, when Li Zongjio had not become strong, when he met Nangong Wuji in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Nangong Wuji was able to guarantee that Li Zongjio would be able to do whatever he wanted in the future. That was true. What was the background of this Li Zongjio? How about this? Either you hand over the person tonight, or you take a blow from my hammer. If you can withstand this blow, I will leave and not find trouble with you. When Li Zongjio saw Gu Sha's shocked expression, he knew that this little old man was starting to feel a little weak. With this little ability, he wanted to suppress Li Zongjio and have a slow talk with Li Zongjio. He was underestimating Li Zongjio too much. Take a blow from his hammer. Last night, in order to express their sincerity and gratitude, the two people from the Zong clan had exchanged information with the Gu clan. From the information that the Zong clan had gathered, it was clear that Li Zongjio was the evil lord that they had caught a glimpse of in the Hell Arena. It was hard to believe that such a person could still be alive and well after giving himself such a nickname that would be struck by lightning. However, this evil lord was really capable. Just the ability that he had displayed was like a small black hammer. Almost no one could withstand this evil lord's hammer. Hearing Li Zongjio's request, Gu Sha naturally did not dare to accept it. It's just a hammer. There is no need for Elder Yuan to take action. Let me do it. If I can't withstand your hammer today, I, Gu Yao, will not have the face to continue living. Gu Yao stood out and said. At this time, he naturally had to help Elder Yuan. No matter what, if he was really killed by Li Zongjio's hammer, the clan would record his contribution. Hence, Gu Yao had to show himself. As long as he did not die, he would definitely receive Elder Gu Sha's full support in the future. Gu Sha gave Gu Yao a look of affirmation. It was as if he was saying, "You did well, I will reward you when I return." Alright, then it's you. After saying that, Li Zongjio also took out his black dragon hammer. Gu Yao took a step forward. After making a series of hand seals, a golden armor covered in light immediately appeared around his body. The armor was in a golden and transparent state. It was a high-grade defensive yuan tool. Bah, so shameless. Using the sky gold armor. Tai Fai immediately scolded. This person was really shameless. The sky gold armor's defensive power is ranked 10th among the high-grade defensive yuan tools. It is said that it can withstand the full blow of an origin emperor expert. Tai Fai's words were obviously for Li Zongjio to hear. Wow, so powerful. How much is one set? Li Zongjio asked. It is sold in the 7-star flame room. Each set is priced at 79 million purple yuan. Isn't that more expensive than my Azura cauldron? Wait, let me test the power of this thing first. Li Zongjio said in surprise. 70 million purple yuan coins was already a terrifying amount. Although Li Zongjiu had a lot of money, billions of purple yuan coins had entered his account in a short period of time. The main reason was that these were all stolen from others. Who knew how long it took for others to accumulate such wealth? Li Zongjiu relied on his tyrannical strength. He robbed people clean at the drop of a hat. That was why he had so much money. If Li Zongjiu was allowed to earn a little, who knew when he would be able to earn as much as he did now? Moreover, the expenses of the White Deer Manor were not low. They had to feed so many people and a few Origin Emperor-level soul beasts. These expenses were enough to make Xiao Zhao extremely worried. Moreover, the White Deer Manor was in a good financial situation now. They did not purchase anything extremely valuable in the manor. The amount of money was unpredictable. There was no such thing as being despicable on the battlefield. So Li Zongjiu was allowed to use such a terrifying hammer, but he was not allowed to use such a defensive yuan tool. Anyway, it was not clear before the fight, so it naturally counted. "Are you ready?" Li Zongjiu asked when he saw Gu Yao's confident look. The surrounding people who were smashing and robbing stopped what they were doing and looked at Li Zongjiu attentively. Many of them were also very curious. Was this young master of the Li family really as powerful as the legend said? Gu Sha also stared at Li Zongjiu's actions expressionlessly. The yuan energy in his body was also quietly circulating, ready to strike at any time. As Li Zongjiu's voice fell, he walked in front of Gu Yao and smashed the black dragon hammer in his hand towards the golden light. Boom! The hammer fell to the ground, shaking the heavens and earth. Gu Yao looked on helplessly as the floating golden armor in front of him was shattered into pieces. At the same time, a terrifying and overbearing force attacked Gu Yao. It was as if a giant beast was biting towards him. In the next moment, Gu Yao's body was torn into pieces by this force. Whoosh! Boom! A wave of destructive energy continued to sweep forward. A large hole was immediately blasted in the Gu family's house. After this large hole, the force formed a path of destruction. Everywhere it passed, everything was crushed into pieces. Crash! This force penetrated the front and back of the Gu family's mansion. Even the last wall collapsed with a gentle gust of wind. In the middle of this long trail, Gu Yao's body was not found. It's a pity. Looks like he didn't manage to block my hammer. Before sunset today, if I don't see anyone in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, you will be next. Can you block it? Chapter 978. Can you withstand it? This was complete disdain. If it had been anyone else, Gu Sha would have let them know how powerful he was. However, Li Zongjiu was standing before him, so Gu Sha didn't dare to act rashly. At the same time, he was comforting himself. He had to consider the big picture. He had to consider the big picture. Of course, these words were only for himself. Even if the people around him did not understand, Gu Sha could only treat it as a great burden. How could ordinary people like you understand his pain? Li Zongjiu and the rest came to wreck the place and then swaggered away. It was said that the people in the Gu family did not even dare to let out a fart. Even the mansion of the Gu family had been demolished beyond recognition. From the looks of it, it was as if it had been demolished and rebuilt. As for the casualties, the outside world was not sure. However, some people saw Gu Sha standing in the ruins. This was the newly appointed helmsman of the Gu family. To think that he would encounter such a situation as soon as he took office. This really made people admire China. They could not help but observe a few minutes of silence for Gu Sha. Li Zongjiu did not hide his actions at all. Almost the entire Sacred Flame Royal City had received the news and started to pay attention to it. Previously, Li Zongjiu was just a clown jumping around in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Such a person was not a threat at all. No matter how he jumped around, he might be crippled by someone one day. It was only now that these people realized that Li Zongjiu had reached a very terrifying level. With such a growth rate, he could no longer be ignored. It was too late even if they wanted to curry favor with him. Without the foundation of their previous relationship, it would be very difficult to curry favor with him. 7-star fire room. Song Jieyu was also one of the people who had been paying attention to Li Zongjiu's news. Recently, there had been some problems with the orders in Song Jieyu's hands. Even a few of the big clients in Song Jieyu's hands seemed to have the intention of transferring them. It must have been dug out by someone else. Although the Sacred Flame Royal Cities market had stabilized, there were still some important connections in the lower cities. If the overall performance couldn't catch up, the situation would be more critical. Right now, Song Jieyu was in a terrible fix because there were people in the Song family who had secretly joined forces to deal with Song Jieyu. They wanted to eliminate Song Jieyu. More than half of the resources in the 21st class cities under the Song family's control had been taken away by others. The orders from these cities were comparable to those from Sacred Flame Royal City. However, although this matter was troublesome for Song Jieyu, this was the way to do things in the family. Not only did she have to guard against the opponents outside the family, she also had to keep an eye on the people inside the family. Backstabbing was a common occurrence, so it was not surprising. When she heard that Li Zongjiu had gone to the Gu clan again today, Song Jieyu sensed that something was amiss. His style of doing things was somewhat different from the Li Zongjiu she knew in the past. In the past, Li Zongjiu was extremely low-key and casual. When he killed someone, he dealt with it quickly. After what happened last night, he could even do it without alerting anyone. However, this time, with such great fanfare, it seemed like he was trying to establish his own reputation. What kind of temper does this Li Zongjiu have? It's so strange. Song Jieyu couldn't understand Li Zongjiu's character at all. However, with Li Zongjiu causing such a ruckus, there would probably be people in the city who would focus on Li Zongjiu very soon. Perhaps there would be another huge crocodile in the current market to devour. There was nothing strange about it. This was related to personal interests. If Li Zongjiu really stepped into these markets, many people would suffer. When that time came, it would be a real bloody battle. There would probably be some extremely terrifying opponents from all aspects. It didn't matter if you killed a disciple of a family. If you could take revenge, you would. If you couldn't, you would admit defeat. You couldn't possibly throw the entire family into the mess. However, if you touched the family's business, then, sorry. This was a matter of life and death for the family. It wouldn't be easy for you to occupy it. When that time came, it would be the time to fight for their lives. The Sacred Flame Imperial City would probably be lively again. Although the weapon industry is good, there are too many choices. There will always be a time when it's saturated. Moreover, weapons don't change so frequently. Song Jieyu thought in her heart. Perhaps it was time to start a new industry. Since there were so many backstabbers, let them play slowly. By the time they reacted, Song Jieyu would have already gained a firm foothold in the new territory. There was nothing for others. This was the most competitive behavior in the industry. Miss, White Deer Manor has sent an invitation. Just as Song Jieyu was flipping through the recent Dynasty Express and encyclopedia. Just as Song Jieyu was at her wit's end. When they heard the news, they were all stunned. She couldn't have heard wrongly, right? Where did the invitation come from? Song Jieyu was energized. Ever since Xiao Zhao left, the assistants around her felt that they weren't as smart as Xiao Zhao. They didn't handle many things as perfectly as Xiao Zhao. Sometimes, they even regretted being poached by Li Zongjiu. It's an invitation from White Deer Manor. An assistant handed over the invitation in his hand. There were only 4 words written on it. Tomorrow afternoon. The strokes were vigorous and the words were concise and clear. There were also 3 words written on the signature. Li Zongjiu. It was Li Zongjiu who invited her. This even made Song Jieyu a little excited. She couldn't believe her eyes. And it made Song Jieyu have a very keen business sense. Li Zongjiu had just made some achievements in the Haiku dynasty, and after returning, he was so high profile. And at such a time, he came to meet her. Something must be happening. Postpone tomorrow's schedule. Song Jieyu put away the invitation in her hand. She recalled the young man she met in the 7-star fire room. At that time, he was just an examinee who came to take the exam of Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion. Now, he was standing at a high position. But miss, tomorrow is the Iron Tools Merchant Alliance's meeting in Xianbai City. There are at least 6 big buyers in the Secret Tools Merchant Alliance. The assistant hurriedly said. Tomorrow's meeting was the most important thing. And there were 6 big buyers. If this could be negotiated, it would definitely add a lot of color to Mrs. performance. If she didn't meet tomorrow and changed the schedule, this precious opportunity would definitely fall into the hands of others. Postpone it. Song Jieyu's tone didn't allow for refusal. The assistant was shocked. He hurriedly nodded and went to handle this matter. Chapter 979. Inside Bailu Manor. Li Yun received Zheng Haoran and the others who came from Jade Wave Giant City. After Li Zongjiu returned to the Shengyan dynasty, he directly sent people to the Zheng family to look for people, saying that he wanted to discuss the construction of warships in detail. Obviously, Li Zongjiu wanted to invest in the project. The Zheng family quickly sent Zheng Haoran, who was familiar with Li Zongjiu. In addition, a group of top warship designers were brought over. The main leader of the team was the Zheng family's research team leader, who was also an elder of the Zheng family, Zheng Kong. In addition, 4 top members were brought over. They all received the best education in the Zheng family and were the most creative warship designers. When Zheng Kong and the others arrived, Li Zongjiu just happened to bring people to the Gu family to look for something, so only Li Yun came to receive them. After all, Li Yun and Zheng Haoran were relatively familiar with each other. Previously, Zheng Haoran stayed in the Li family for a period of time and specially trained some warship operators for the Li family. After all, learning how to operate a warship was a very important knowledge. If it was not done well, it would definitely cause a great loss. Recently, Zheng Haoran could be said to be doing well in the Zheng family. He got to know Li Zongjiu, who was a powerful elder brother, and brought a huge source of income to the Zheng family. Therefore, Zheng Haoran could be said to have soared to the sky. In the Zheng family, he was quite doted on. You all take a rest first. Zongjiu went out to do something and should be back at night. You can walk around, but don't go to the back of the mountain. There are a few man-eating things there. Li Yun said. Elder Zheng Kong also nodded repeatedly. He did not believe Li Yun's words about man-eating things. It was estimated that there were people guarding it. It was very normal to not let people go to the secret forbidden area. Understood, understood. Miss Li Yun, please go ahead. We'll just sit here and wait. You don't have to be so restrained. It's fine to walk around casually. However, I have to deal with some matters first. If you have any questions, you can ask Butler Xiao Zhao. Li Yun said with a smile. Soon after, they left the White Deer Manor. Xiao Zhao didn't have the time to accompany these people. Since Li Yan said that they could roam around, she might as well take the opportunity to see what was so special about the White Deer Manor. Let's walk around. Zheng Kong and the others strolled around the manor. At the other side, Nangong Wuji was also trying out his newly developed 8 trigrams maze formation. This kind of formation would be activated unconsciously. Once it was activated, people would walk into it without noticing. There would be nothing wrong with the surroundings, but they would never be able to walk out. Of course, in order to use such a large formation, one would need a sufficient space. The Bailu Manor was so vast that it couldn't be more suitable to set up this kind of formation. Li Zongjio didn't bring them back directly. Instead, he walked around the main street and went to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. Originally, the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion could be said to be the ninth prince's territory. However, the ninth prince was imprisoned in the alchemy building and he seemed to be very happy sweeping the floor. Li Zongjio planned that if the ninth prince couldn't gather enough money, he wouldn't be able to leave. As for Palace Master Yun Qi in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, she was a palace master from the Zishuan court. She had regained her freedom, and after Li Zongjio completely dealt with the poison cult in the southern region, the people from the Zishuan court were completely safe. It just so happened that the Zishuan court had stabilized their situation in the Holy Flame Royal City. However, the Zishuan court had always maintained a good relationship with the Bailu Manor. If there was any information, the Zishuan court would report it to the Bailu Manor. After all, the Zishuan court was originally in the intelligence business. When Li Zongjio and the others came to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, Palace Master Yun Qi naturally received the news. The current Li Zongjio was no longer someone they could contend against. Palace Master Yun Qi was very clear about this. Therefore, when Li Zongjio arrived, she personally came to welcome him. "Young Master Li, please come to the elegant building. Go and play by yourself." Li Zongjio and Taifai directly walked into the elegant building. This was a place for drinking, so all the expenses were naturally paid by young Master Li. These hired thugs were all from the Jianghu, so they were naturally very familiar with this kind of place. However, these people naturally wouldn't really go and do things at this time. Obviously, there was still work to be done at night. If they did things at this time and delayed things, wouldn't it be terrible? Therefore, these people also knew a sense of propriety. Letting them play by themselves was to let them relax a little, not to really let them indulge. "Young Master Li, long time no see." Li Zongjio was waiting in the elegant room. The table was already full of wine. Yun Qi also hurriedly changed her clothes before walking in to entertain Li Zongjio and Taifai. At the same time, two maids also walked out from behind her. They were Han Shuang and Han Shui. When these two were rescued by Li Zongjio, they were originally arranged to stay by Xiao Zhao's side. However, Xiao Zhao also clearly saw that these two people's hearts weren't there, so he also advocated for them to return to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion by themselves. This kind of thing couldn't be forced. These two people's hearts belonged to the Zishuan court. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to change it in this lifetime. "Sit down. Who has the final say in the Zishuan court?" Li Zongjio looked at Yun Qi and asked. Yun Qi couldn't help but feel surprised. She directly wanted to find the person in charge. This person was either looking for trouble or looking for connections. However, looking at Li Zongjio's appearance, she didn't know what he wanted to do, but the current situation of the Zishuan court could be said to be a mess. It was already good enough that she, Palace Lord Yun Qi, could keep the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. The Pavilion Lord is in a state of closed-door cultivation. Now, the Zishuan court is managed by two Palace Lords. One is me, and the other is Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity. However, Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity isn't in the Holy Flame Imperial City right now. If young Master Li has something to say, you can directly discuss it with me. Palace Lord Yun Qi said slowly. "So, your Zishuan court is now in a state of division, right?" Li Zongjio directly pointed it out. This made Palace Lord Yun Qi's expression become extremely embarrassed because what Li Zongjio said was simply accurate. Ever since the disaster of the poison cult in the south, the forces in the Zishuan court seemed to have been redistributed. The most important thing was that Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity and her subordinates seemed to have reached some kind of agreement with the other sections. They had always wanted to recruit the people on Palace Lord Yun Qi's side. As for the so-called Pavilion Lord, in fact, he had already fallen. However, in order to ensure the stability of the people under Palace Lord Yun Qi's command, she didn't want the people's hearts to be scattered. Otherwise, the Zishuan court would cease to exist and become a target for annexation by others. She didn't expect that the Zishuan court didn't die in the hands of the poison cult in the south but was destroyed in the hands of her own people. Chapter 980. Although this was the truth, Li Zongjiu didn't say it out so directly. He should at least save some face for Zishuan court. Ahem, at the moment, we just have some disagreements. Your Zishuan court's attribute is more toward yin and cold. If I remember correctly, you cultivate the moon god power, right? Li Zongjiu looked at Palace Master Yun Qi. Some of the cultivation methods of a sect were secrets, and some were just new information. After all, the cultivation methods of a sect were powerful, and it was an invisible deterrent to others. However, the moon god power was a secret of Zishuan court. Only the palace master and above could cultivate it. How could Li Zongjiu know about it? Therefore, when he said it, Palace Master Yun Qi's expression changed. How did you know? But soon, Palace Master Yun Qi's expression relaxed. After all, Li Zongjiu had captured the ninth prince for some time. It wasn't difficult for him to know this information. The moon god power is actually an incomplete cultivation method. Your pavilion master should have told you this. I have the complete version of the sun god power here. Li Zongjiu said. Then, he took out a scroll that he had prepared long ago from the southern kingdom's ring. What was recorded in the scroll was the sun-moon divine skill. Speaking of the power of this divine art of sun and moon, Li Zongjiu encountered a person who cultivated this divine art of sun and moon. However, this person wasn't a member of Zishuan court. But in the end, the cultivation method of the sun god power fell directly into Li Zongjiu's hands. At that time, it was very convenient for Li Zongjiu to get something. After all, his strength was there. What? You have the sun god power? Yun Qi stood up from her seat directly. Han Shuang and Han Shui also closed the doors and windows very sensibly and retreated. When it came to the divine sun-moon technique, it was not something they could listen to. Only Li Zongjiu and Palace Master Yun Qi were left in the whole room. Li Zongjiu did not try to hide anything. He handed the copy of the divine skill of sun and moon that he had copied from his memory to Yun Qi. When Yun Qi opened the scroll in her hand and read a few lines casually, she knew that the thing in her hand was definitely the real thing. It was an orthodox cultivation method. It was in Li Zongjiu's hand. No, she was holding it in her hand now. A long time ago, Zishuan court strength was quite good. But a series of things later, even the sects present. Even now, only a few peoples wandering around. It was very difficult to preserve the sect's books, preserve this cultivation method, even this cultivation method. Now, Zishuan court was already on the path of decline. The palace master of Mystic Sensitivity Palace wanted to rely on an even more powerful force in order to restore Zishuan court's former glory. This was clearly a matter of a lamb entering the tiger's den. How could there be such a good thing? It was obvious just by thinking about it. But the people under Palace Master Xian Min didn't have much contact with Palace Master Yun Qi's people. The great Zishuan court didn't collapse under the crisis of the poison cult in Nanjiang. On the contrary, the current situation caused them to be in an irreversible crisis. It also made Palace Master Yun Qi very sad. The fall of the Pavilion Master also made it difficult for the people below to gather together because Yun Qi and Xian Min had the same status and power. Both of them had the chance to become the new Pavilion Master. Since neither of them was willing to yield to the other, they could only be in a stalemate. Xian Min's strength was increasing little by little. Originally, Yun Qi could rely on the ninth prince to cushion her a little. But now the ninth prince was also disabled, so Yun Qi's defeat was inevitable. But All this was before Li Zongjiu appeared. After Li Zongjiu appeared. Or it could be said that after the appearance of the divine power of sun and moon, the situation would be completely reversed. With the power of the divine power of sun and moon in his hand, this was something that had been lost since the great ancestor. Without a doubt, anyone who cultivated this divine power of sun and moon would have to call him Pavilion Master. If Yun Qi cultivated it, he would become the new Pavilion Master of Zishuan Court. This was also the great ancestor's instruction. Now that it fell into Yun Qi's hands, it made Yun Qi very excited. He thought that Zishuan Court finally had a chance to be reunited. Yun Qi was secretly happy. But at this critical moment, he realized where the problem was. Li Zongjiu didn't know where he got this divine power of sun and moon from. Now he took it out and gave it to her. Obviously, he wanted something. For such a valuable item, the price to obtain it was naturally quite high. Yun Qi forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart and gently put the divine power of sun and moon scroll in his hand on the table. Young Master Li, what are your conditions? Please tell me. Although he put it down, the fire in Yun Qi's eyes was real. As long as Li Zongjiu's request didn't exceed his bottom line, he would agree even if he had to suffer a loss. If he thought about it carefully, Li Zongjiu was a little young, but with such qualifications and his current status, it seemed that he wouldn't suffer too much. Immediately, Yun Qi took a deep breath as if he was waiting for Li Zongjiu to speak, and then he pretended to think about it. He couldn't agree immediately. What I want is very simple. You can be the Pavilion Master of Zishuan Court and maintain a good cooperative relationship with White Deer Manor. Li Zongjiu said lightly. As for the act of annexing other forces, Li Zongjiu had never thought about it. On the one hand, it was troublesome to do so, and on the other hand, the effect wasn't good. He just needed these forces to help each other in the early stage. That was why Li Zongjiu came to Zishuan Court. Li Zongjiu had offended many forces, but there were even more forces that were willing to cooperate with Li Zongjiu. Therefore, Li Zongjiu also needed to choose some forces that could help increase the power of the Li family, and correspondingly, it would be more comfortable to cooperate with them. Otherwise, in the Holy Flame Royal City, there would be countless people who wanted to cooperate with Li Zongjiu. At least, before Li Zongjiu's potential was squeezed out, they would be extremely willing to cooperate with Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu didn't need these ingrates either. It would be troublesome to deal with them one by one. What do you mean? Yun Qi didn't understand Li Zongjiu's meaning. When he said this, it didn't seem like there was much that he needed to be responsible for, but what did he mean by maintaining a good cooperative relationship? This was even more thought-provoking. Your Zishuan Court's intelligence network is blessed by the heavens. In the future, it will definitely develop into the #1 intelligence network of the Shengyan dynasty. When that time comes, I will naturally need you. Right now, you should just focus on increasing your own strength. If Zishuan Court continues to be this weak, even if it's not destroyed by our own people, it will be destroyed by others sooner or later. Li Zongjiu said, looking at Yun Qi in front of him with an extremely calm expression. There was no hint of mockery in his words. Instead, it was an extremely accurate statement. You. Yun Qi was very unhappy when he heard this. Wasn't this cursing Zishuan Court? Tonight, I want you to help me imprison 2 people. I know about your ability to control people. Control these 2 people. Who are they? The top assassins of the Haiku dynasty. When you completely control these 2 people and combine them with your information, I believe that they will become a sharp knife. Li Zongjiu said. The ancient Zong family? Yun Qi asked in surprise. With just a few words, he had already obtained such important information and analyzed it. Yes. Gathering the top assassins and the top intelligence network. Yun Qi already had a general idea of what Li Zongjiu wanted to do. Chapter 981. Outside the city. Xizhuang Town. A caravan was ready to set off. Just as they were about to set off, 2 guards suffered from diarrhea. Therefore, they only found 2 people in Xizhuang Town. After all, with so many things, they would need manpower to unload them one by one. Everything is ready. Let's go. The destination of this trip was to deliver goods to a family in the Sacred Flame Royal City. The goods were also some frozen meat and beast bones, so it was more concealed. The caravan was also in a long formation. Looking at it, it was a black mass. A caravan of this size could only be considered a medium-sized caravan. If they encountered a large-scale caravan, they would be like a small army. Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng mixed in with the caravan. They repackaged themselves and returned to the Sacred Flame Royal City. Even if Li Zhongjiu was extremely powerful, it would be impossible for him to discover them so easily. Moreover, they had already obtained some information about Li Zhongjiu. Now they knew why they fell so quickly. How unlucky. How would I know that Li Zhongjiu owns a casino? Boyu Casino was Li Zhongjiu's territory. The moment they walked in, Li Zhongjiu had already seen through them. It was not that their disguise skills were not good enough, but that they were too unlucky. Now that they had come out and walked around, it was not a problem to disguise themselves and return. Li Zhongjiu's methods would not be able to reach the heavens in the Sacred Flame Royal City. The premise was that he had someone to help him. Both of them were top-notch assassins, and they were also very traditional assassins. This was the education they had received. If they could avoid making a move, they would definitely not. Everything was done in a low-key manner. If they made a move directly, they would not be assassins, but bandits and robbers. There were rules in this line of work. The 2 of them followed the caravan and entered the city when the sun was about to set. After entering the city, someone in the caravan gave Zhang Yishang a note. There was an address written on it. Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. This place sounds expensive. Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng looked at each other and nodded. However, he had finally passed this hurdle. Now that they had avoided Li Zhongjiu's eyes, they could finally show off their skills and completely take down the person. They had a thorough plan. After killing the person, they had to leave without a trace. Every business deal was a form of art. This was not something that could be easily achieved. It depended on the individual's skill. The 2 of them walked to the front of the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion and stopped at the entrance to take a look. In case it's a trap, I'll go in first. You stay at the entrance and buy something from the other side. Buried Night Sorrow said in a deep voice. In fact, these 2 top-notch assassins didn't have much experience in roaming the underworld. Most of the time, they stayed deep in the mountains and forests to cultivate. After all, if they didn't cultivate enough strength, they couldn't leave the mountains. In addition, the order itself was to kill, so the experience gained from killing people was even less. Therefore, before carrying out the mission, the methods that kept them alive were mostly things that they had learned from their families. After all, it was impossible to have so much combat experience. Zhang Feng nodded when he heard this. Then, he walked towards the opposite street. Burying Night Sorrow walked into the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion alone. One could imagine the result that awaited him. After entering, there was no sound. Zhang Feng, who was waiting outside, frowned. Why is there no sound at all after entering for so long? This made Zhang Feng puzzled. It's been too long. Could something have happened? Zhang Feng thought to himself. Wait. Why does this place look so similar to? At this moment, Zhang Feng's eyes lit up. He seemed to have realized that the place in front of him was similar to the legendary place. Damn, no wonder I had to wait outside. After Zhang Feng saw that the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion should be the legendary brothel, he understood why Buried Night Sorrow had asked him to wait outside. On the spot, Zhang Feng rushed in without hesitation. At this moment, burying Night Sorrow was already tied up. He was in the secret underground room of the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion, and there were some spells carved on his body. "Ah, you damned bitches, let me go!" Buried Night Sorrow roared furiously. He originally wanted to trick Zhang Feng out so that he could have some fun and mingle with the people of the Shengyan dynasty. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered, he would see the person he didn't want to see the most? At least for now. Li Zongjiu. Without a second word. Buried Night Sorrow was taken down again. This time, he didn't use any killing methods. He didn't even have time to escape before he was taken down by Taifai and his men. Li Zongjiu rewarded him with a soulless talisman. This time, Li Zongjiu specifically inserted the soulless talisman into a part of his body. It would take at least 7 days to dissolve it. 7 days was enough for Yun Qi to finish carving the spell. When Zhang Feng rushed in, Taifai and his men had been waiting here for a long time. "It's you again." Zhang Feng couldn't help but want to attack. However, he remembered that his family had taught him not to attack unless it was absolutely necessary. "Fuck you. I won't let you catch me." In an instant, Zhang Feng defeated the 6 Yuan monarchs who had rushed up. The 6 of them were instantly sent flying. Boom! The 6 of them lost their ability to fight and fell to the ground. "He's running away. Catch him!" The rest of the men shouted. They immediately chased after him. However, Zhang Feng's figure was like a phantom as he quickly flew past them. It wasn't suitable for him to escape from the door. He would definitely be heavily guarded by the other party. Zhang Feng immediately jumped toward the window on the 2nd floor. By the time Zhang Feng's figure had already rushed to the window on the 2nd floor, the people below were still unable to react. "Do you think trash like you can catch me?" Zhang Feng sneered. When he turned around, he saw a man around his age standing not far away. "If you can escape from me, I will let you go," Li Zongjiu said nonchalantly. These words angered Zhang Feng. "We are all around the same age. Even I am not so arrogant." "What gives you the right to be so arrogant?" Just thinking about it made him unhappy. Zhang Feng was different from Zhang Yishang. He wasn't as tolerant as Zhang Yishang. He was about to be killed, yet he was still hiding his strength. Wasn't that stupid? "Since you, Li Zongjiu, want to compete, then come at me. Just as well. I can also complete this mission." Zhang Feng took out his dagger. Every assassin had their own personal dagger. Zhang Feng's dagger was a dagger that he had painstakingly saved up for 10 years to get the elders of his family to refine. Even the defense of a level 6 Yuan beast was like soft tofu in front of this dagger. Chapter 982. Zhang Feng could no longer tolerate Li Zongjiu's arrogance. He had to use his true means to let Li Zongjiu know how powerful he was. The rest of the Zishuan court disciples were also hiding in the dark and did not participate in this battle. This battle had nothing to do with them, so they only needed to watch. At the same time, they also wanted to observe how powerful the legendary Li Zongjiu was. He had just captured a person, so this young man now looked more handsome. His abilities also seemed to be better. This person defeated 6 Yuan monarch experts in an instant, and those people couldn't do anything to him. If young Master Li didn't make a move, this person might still have escaped. I wonder how strong this man is compared to young Master Li. Many people were also very interested in Zhang Feng, who dared to face Li Zongjiu head-on. Zhang Feng tried his best to find a loophole in Li Zongjiu's aura. However, Li Zongjiu's aura was like a flawless sphere. There were no flaws in all directions. This made Zhang Feng feel very troubled. Unlike what his family had taught him, everyone's aura had a weakness, and this was their weakness. As long as he grasped this weakness, he would be successful in every endeavor. Therefore, Zhang Feng also tried his best to find Li Zhongjiu's weakness, only to discover that Li Zhongjiu's defense was natural. Since you don't have a weakness, I'll force it out. Sometimes, it was normal to not have a weakness. However, as long as one moved, a weakness would definitely appear. This was the time to succeed. Zhang Feng's figure immediately turned into an afterimage. His figure instantly hid in the darkness. Whoosh! His trace disappeared. He disappeared right in front of everyone's eyes just like that. Tai-Fi and the others widened their eyes. The people who had fallen to the ground just now also got up with difficulty. They hadn't been able to react in time and had been directly knocked down. The other party's speed was so fast that it made them speechless. Even their opponents' attacking methods were unclear to them. They were completely unable to grasp their opponent's attack patterns. He disappeared. How fast? Protect the young master. Someone shouted loudly, but he was pulled down by someone else. What's there to protect with your meager strength? When the time comes, you won't even know how you died. In the blink of an eye. Li Zhongjiu stood rooted to the ground, as if he had lost his sense of direction. At this moment, Zhang Feng, who had disappeared, suddenly appeared. There was more than one. 3 figures. Although he knew that one of them was definitely a clone, there was no way to distinguish which one was the real body. When the 3 daggers were about to stab Li Zhongjiu was stunned. However, Li Zhongjiu's figure suddenly passed by the 3 figures and directly headed towards the darkness. Behind a pillar, he directly grabbed it with his hand. Pa! Immediately, a figure on the pillar flew into the distance. He actually saw through it. What kind of eyes does this kid have? Even Zhang Feng hadn't expected that Li Zhongjiu would be able to see through his move. His body concealment technique could at least be ranked in the top 10 within the family. Even the family's elders said that he practiced it to the point of being as pure as fire. However, in front of Li Zhongjiu, he still didn't stand a chance. He was directly seen through by the other party. Wasn't that embarrassing? As an assassin, if even his tracks were known by others, then it was considered a failure. Therefore, he had to retreat and couldn't fight head-on. In terms of speed, I, Zhang Feng, have never been afraid of anyone. Get down. As soon as Zhang Feng boasted, Li Zhongjiu directly grabbed his pants. Fuck. Zhang Feng's face instantly revealed extreme astonishment. In the next second, he lost control of his strength and fell from the air to the ground floor. Bang! The entire floor trembled, and all the floorboards were directly shattered. The floor was just put up. This fall made the girls from Zishuan Court nervous. Now, it seemed that the floor that was just put up was now completely ruined. The one that was truly ruined was Zhang Feng, who fell to the ground. The latter wanted to get up, but he discovered that he couldn't move his body anymore. Crap, my bones are broken. Zhang Feng didn't even have time to attack before he lost the ability to fight. In this state, Zhang Feng closed his eyes in hatred, not daring to accept this reality. Drag him down. Li Zhongjiu landed on the ground and said. At this moment, everyone could see it. Zhang Feng and Li Zhongjiu weren't on the same level at all. Zhang Feng already used his full strength, but he couldn't even escape from Li Zhongjiu's palm and was instantly killed. With this kind of strength, it was better for him not to be arrogant in front of Li Zhongjiu. Get your palace master to settle the matter within 7 days. Then, I will give you half a month's time to train. After half a month, I will need it. I need to use that half a month, Li Zhongjiu said to the people from Zishuan Court. Then, he didn't wait for the people from Zishuan Court to respond. It seemed that after he gave them some instructions, this matter was considered clear. If they didn't do as he said, there would definitely be bad consequences. These girls from Zishuan Court were only responsible for bringing the message to Yun Qi. Yun Qi naturally knew what to do. Among the people from Zishuan Court, there was a special method that could control men and use them for their own purposes. However, this method was extremely complicated, so they wouldn't use it under normal circumstances. Only Li Zongjiu knew that Yun Qi and the others had this method. Therefore, he captured these two top-notch assassins. Find a few people and put their floor back up. Li Zongjiu instructed Taifai. Since they attacked in other people's territory, they naturally had to fix the things they broke. Otherwise, wouldn't they become bandits who bullied others? Yes, young master. Taifai quickly arranged this matter. For the few people who were injured today, Li Zongjiu rewarded each of them with a 5th-level medicinal pill. The rest of the people received a considerable commission as a reward. This immediately made the rest of the people extremely envious. If they had known earlier, they would have rushed to the front. Their injuries weren't serious at all, but if they wanted to get this 5th-level medicinal pill, they didn't know how much they would have to pay to get it. As for those who were injured, they were naturally delighted. They didn't expect to have such an unexpected and rich harvest. It was simply unimaginable. If something like this happened next time, they would be even more courageous. The 5th-level medicinal pill that Li Zongjiu casually rewarded was enough to cover half a year of their cultivation. Following a super-powerful alchemist boss like Li Zongjiu would definitely have a promising future. After dismissing everyone, Li Zongjiu returned to Bailu Manor alone. On the way, he passed by the Qi family's courtyard and took the time to go in and have a cup of tea. Since Li Zongjiu threw Hua Qing from the Hua family onto the street, everyone knew that the Qi family's daughter was Li Zongjiu's woman. If they wanted to provoke her, they had to weigh their own strength first. Chapter 983. White Deer Manor. Li Zongjiu came back to meet Zheng Haoren and the others. The two sides also had their first conversation. This time, Xiao Zhao was also on the side. After all, Xiao Zhao was more aware of the resources in White Deer Manor than Li Zongjiu. At the same time, Li Zongjiu also talked about some of the new warships 3,000 years later. Zheng Kong and the others were indeed the top warship designers. With just a little guidance, they immediately learned some things from it. When they learned these things, it was as if they were enlightened. If you want to achieve that effect, first of all, the material requirements are very high. The current warships are just coated with a layer of paint on the outside. In essence, some hard wood is still used to complete the main body. If you want to use real gold and iron to complete it, the materials and some key parts of the energy supply must be extremely high. Li Zongjiu only told them that most of the warships in the future were made of black iron. In this way, whether it was the defensive power or the collision force, it was quite outstanding. It was completely suspended in the air like an iron wall, absolutely safe. But with the current technology, to achieve this effect, there were still many problems to overcome, but it was not impossible. And Li Zongjiu had also said that all the research funds would be provided by White Deer Manor. No matter what they wanted, they just had to say it. Although they did not know how much money Li Zongjiu had, however, Li Zongjiu's strength as a 6th-grade alchemist was there. Even if he didn't have enough money, he could casually transfer the resources from a few big families. The resources that could be used were several times more than the Zheng family. Now the Zheng family was still a slave for the Azure Wave giant city to become a first-class city. Now if they put this matter aside and put all their energy into researching a new type of flying ship warship, it should not be difficult for the Zheng family to become a first-class city. Zheng Kong and the others seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. His imagination began to run wild. As for the technical aspect, I've made an appointment with someone tomorrow. She should be able to help you. As for the materials, Xiao Zhao, make the arrangements and see if the Qi family can cooperate in this aspect. Li Zongjiu said. Yes, young master. I'll arrange it now. Xiao Zhao nodded. The first was materials, the second was technology, and the third was money. All of them were dealt with in an instant. Just do whatever you want. If there's anything you need, you can look for Xiao Zhao. She's my housekeeper. Li Zongjio said. Many thanks to young Master Li for your help. My Jing family will definitely develop a super strong warship. We definitely won't let young Master Li down. Not to mention the purpose of Li Zongjio's strong support, just the fact that he was willing to spend money on this was enough to make the Jing family extremely excited. After all, the Jing family also relied on this flying boat to make a fortune. If they couldn't improve, they would definitely be overtaken by others. Since they were in the lead, they had to be in the lead step by step. Otherwise, they would be overtaken sooner or later. Li Zongjio was willing to provide such a good opportunity to them. This was enough for the Jing family. That was why Jing Kong and the others were so excited. Okay, then you all go and rest first. I'll ask someone to call you tomorrow afternoon. Li Zongjio said. The Jing family was also very excited throughout the night. It would probably be difficult for them to sleep tonight. Such news was really a dream for them. What's more, Li Zongjio also said that he only needed to have the priority to buy the warship. As for the materials needed and some of the costs, they would have to slowly discuss these things later. What's more, the warship hadn't been developed yet. At the same time, Li Zongjio also said. Now the Jing family's goal was the Shengyan dynasty's Heaven Workshop. It must surpass the craftsmanship of the Heaven Workshop to be considered excellent. Although it was very difficult, it was worth a try. At least for now, they had Li Zongjio as their backing. With the financial resources of the entire White Deer Manor as their backing, it wasn't impossible to achieve such a goal. The next day, the Jing family also dressed up. Next, they were going to have a formal discussion. Jing Kong didn't sleep well last night. Later, he simply got up and began to draw the blueprint. Song Jieyu didn't arrive too early. She only arrived a few minutes early in front of the White Deer Manor. Xiao Zhao went out to welcome her. How have you been? When Song Jieyu saw Xiao Zhao, her eyes were full of affection. In the past, Xiao Zhao was inseparable from her. When she first lent her to Li Zongjio, she was a little unused to Xiao Zhao's departure. Now, the two sisters were extremely busy. They didn't even have much time to communicate with each other. Xiao Zhao had gradually become the real leader of the White Deer Manor. In fact, he was now on equal footing with Song Jieyu. Now that Xiao Zhao was the steward of the White Deer Manor, he had more opportunities to come into contact with Li Zongjio. If someone asked Li Zongjio to refine an elixir or something, they would naturally look for him. Naturally, he was looking for Xiao Zhao. After all, Li Zongjio wasn't someone that anyone could meet just because they wanted to. Not bad. Where's Miss? How have things been? In Xiao Zhao's heart, he respected Song Jieyu. He wouldn't completely forget about her just because he left the 7-star fire room. It's a long story, let's go in first. Song Jieyu only brought an assistant with her. She didn't even bring any guards. If Li Zongjio's place wasn't safe, then there wouldn't be many places in the Sacred Flame Royal City that were safe. At the very least, Song Jieyu believed that no one would come to Li Zongjio's territory to cause trouble. Most of the time, Li Zongjio would go out to look for others. Some of the people who came to Li Zongjio's house to cause trouble had all mysteriously disappeared. This mysterious disappearance was also obvious. They had all been killed. Xiao Zhao led Song Jieyu to the guest hall. Most of the furnishings in the living room were also very old, and each of them was very valuable. Of course, many of them had been snatched. Previously, they had directly plundered the Gu clan's treasury and had more or less found a few valuable items. In addition, they had snatched so many storage rings. There had to be some treasures. With just a glance, Song Jieyu knew that Xiao Zhao's recent improvement had been very good. Otherwise, one would be able to roughly tell the taste of the owner just by looking at the arrangement of these things. If one wanted to become a butler, one would have to learn endless things. In the guest hall, Li Zhongjiu and the people from the Zheng clan were chatting. Zheng Kong originally thought that Li Zhongjiu would be an extremely arrogant and domineering person. However, after interacting with Li Zhongjiu, he realized that Li Zhongjiu could be described with 3 words. It didn't matter. He had an indifferent attitude towards many things. He was very direct. If there were some things that couldn't be bought with money, he would directly snatch them. It was extremely simple and crude. In terms of ideas, he wouldn't take the initiative to advocate. He only cared about the results. No matter what method was used, it was fine as long as he could achieve his goal. This was Li Zhongjiu's character. Moreover, Li Zhongjiu wasn't as fierce as the outside world said. Instead, he was extremely respectful of the opinions of others. He would listen to anything that was said. It was more comfortable to get along with him. It seemed that this fierce side of him could only be enjoyed by his enemies. Young Master Li, it's really rare for you to invite me. Is there anything I can help you with? After Song Jieyu entered, she asked Li Zhongjiu very directly. After all, Song Jieyu knew that Li Zhongjiu's character was not the kind of person who liked to beat around the bush. You're here. Let me introduce you. This is Song Jieyu from the 7-Star Fire Room. These are the elders of the Zheng clan from Cerulean Wave Giant City. Song Jieyu looked at the people in front of her. She smiled and nodded at them. Cerulean Wave Giant City. Chapter 984. Song Jieyu also knew about Cerulean Wave Giant City. After all, Cerulean Wave Giant City was considered one of the top second-class cities. Song Jieyu had also interacted with the merchants in Cerulean Wave Giant City before, but it was only a preliminary contact. After all, second-class cities did not necessarily need Song Jieyu to maintain relationships. Even for business connections, there would naturally be agents below to do the handover. It's Miss Song from the 7-Star Fire Room. Naturally, they had heard of Song Jieyu's name. Zheng Haoren was even more clear about it. After all, Song Jieyu was also on the list of beauties in Royal City. This list was made by a boring organization, but it was very popular. However, these people were really daring. If they met some bad-tempered young ladies, they would directly destroy this messy organization. After all, in terms of beauty, no one would admit that they were uglier than others. Zheng Haoren did not dare to imagine that he would be able to sit opposite Song Jieyu one day. Song Jieyu was not only a famous beauty in Royal City, but she was also one of the more famous managers in the Song family. At least in Holy Flame Royal City, when the 7-Star Fire Room was mentioned, Song Jieyu would be the first to come to mind. To think that she could be related to the Song family of the 7-Star Fire Room. Now, the two families were even talking about cooperation with each other. It was equivalent to putting them on the same level. It was simply unimaginable. After all, the Zheng family was only a second-class city's family. Compared to the families in first-class cities, they were still relatively weaker. The Song family was a big family in Royal City. They were even more powerful. The shops of the 7-Star Fire Room were also opened all over the Royal City. Just the scale alone was not something they could imagine. Li Zhongjiu also briefly explained his purpose to Song Jieyu. Song Jieyu was indeed a leader in this industry. With a few simple sentences, she understood Li Zhongjiu's intention. The worship industry is indeed a very advanced industry. If a few families join forces, it might not be impossible. Song Jieyu's eyes were also shining. Just yesterday, she was still thinking about how to improve herself and expand her industry. If she stayed in the same place, it would be difficult to create many flowers. In the future, there will definitely be a place for flying boats. Currently, there are relatively few types of weapons on flying boats and warships. After all, the 7-Star Fire Room is in the Yuan weapon industry. If they can develop more yuan weapons suitable for warships, they will definitely be able to defeat people in the future. Zheng Kong said. If one wanted to arm a warship and make it more powerful, one would need a variety of origin tools that could be equipped on the warship. Currently, the origin tools that could be provided on the market were relatively few. Most of the origin tools were developed by oneself. This made it seem a little difficult to make ends meet. After all, the Zheng family was not very good at weapons. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Not bad, Song Jiayu and Zheng Kong could be said to be eloquent, chatting endlessly. The designers of the Zheng family were so excited that they even took out the blueprints they had kept for many years. This is the multidirectional shooting cannon that I have been studying. It can be controlled by Yuan Qi and can be turned 180 degrees. It is attached to both sides of the warship. Even if it is surrounded, there is no need to be afraid. I also have a plan here. Li Zongjiu naturally could not stand such a thing. He did not understand what these people were talking about. Of course, Li Zongjiu did not need to understand. It was enough for them to understand. How is the Qi family? Li Zongjiu found Xiao Zhao and asked. The Qi family said that they will send a special person to the manor. Oh. Who will they send? Li Zongjiu could not help but ask. Me. A figure came in through the door. It was Qi Yanran. The few people who were in the midst of conversation also stopped what they were doing. Song Jiayu also looked at Qi Yanran. This was the woman who had won Li Zongjiu's heart. It was not a big deal to know this news. After all, Li Zongjiu threw the young master of the Hua family on the road for Qi Yanran. It had long been well known, and Song Jiayu also knew it. Before this, Song Jiayu had not seen Qi Yanran much. After all, Qi Yanran had always been in a state of cultivation under the protection of the Qi family. The outside world knew very little about Qi Yanran. When Song Jiayu looked over, Qi Yanran also looked at Song Jiayu. After all, Song Jiayu's beauty naturally could not be concealed. The two smiled and nodded to each other. Who is this person? Zheng Kong asked Song Jiayu in a low voice. Qi Yanran, the eldest daughter of the Qi family and the future mistress of Bailu Manor. Song Jiayu responded. The meaning was very obvious. Unless Li Zongjiu abandoned Qi Yanran and didn't want to be with her, then it was hard to say. The future mistress. When he heard this, Zheng Haoran's eyes revealed shock and admiration for Li Zongjiu, not to mention the admiration in his eyes. It could be described as prostrating himself in admiration. My God, the boss is so handsome. He deserves to be my boss. This made Zheng Haoran's admiration for Li Zongjiu even more. Previously, he could only see that Li Zongjiu's strength must be very strong. Perhaps one day, Li Zongjiu would be able to protect him. However, Zheng Haoran absolutely did not expect that Li Zongjiu could be so powerful. It was really enviable that he could win the heart of the Qi family's eldest daughter. Hello, everyone. As the representative of the Qi family, I will discuss matters with you. If you need any help from the Qi family, just let me know. Qi Yanran sat down graciously. Li Zongjiu also smiled knowingly. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be convenient for Qi Yanran to move into the White Deer Manor. Otherwise, she would definitely be gossiped about if word of it got out. However, this was different. She was here to discuss matters and to discuss cooperation. There was no other meaning in it. At least, this could be considered as a reason to spread the news. She could live in the White Deer Manor openly. It was also a routine inspection to see if Li Zongjiu was obedient or if he was up to any other tricks. After the people of the three parties met, they introduced themselves again. Among these people, Zheng Haoran felt the most comfortable calling her sister-in-law. However, Qi Yanran also knew that she had to be careful of Song Jiayu. Song Jiayu was also a stunning beauty and her ability was not much worse than Qi Yanran's. Although she was not a cultivator, she was definitely stronger than Qi Yanran in some aspects. If Qi Yanran were to take care of the 7-star fire room, it would not be long before the 7-star fire room would be closed down. This was the so-called specialization in the field. Chapter 985. A warship research facility was temporarily set up in the White Deer Manor. Qi Yanran didn't live in the White Deer Manor, but she came here more often. Not only that, he would often work in the White Deer Manor until late into the night before returning home. Sometimes, he would even spend the night in the manor. Song Jieyu also came here often and secretly sent a weapon research master to participate in the research. On the other side, the people from the Purple Xian Pavilion had also completely controlled Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng. However, they still needed some time to stabilize the control of the incantation. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The research facility already had some preliminary results. Li Zongjiu had been cultivating obediently these days and didn't go out to cause trouble. However, the Sacred Flame Royal City was a little lively recently. It was time for the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to recruit students. In the past, the recruitment of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was a big event. However, it was a little different this year. First of all, the Longevity Pavilion bought a manor in the Sacred Flame Royal City and opened a branch academy. Similarly, they also recruited students. This was something that had never happened before. Logically speaking, a transcendent sect like the Longevity Pavilion generally didn't care about these resources. However, they jumped out now, which showed that they were starting to panic. Ever since the Heavenly Pill Pavilion took out the results last time, they were already in a strong state and were ready to go. Many rich people also started to cooperate with the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Moreover, they gave great support to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There were also some alchemy enthusiasts who chose to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The requirements to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion weren't high yet. As long as you could pass the first-grade alchemist examination, you were qualified to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, in the future, this matter was uncertain. Some people who were extremely sharp also chose to join one after another. Now, they could also enjoy certain benefits. Moreover, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was now rich and overbearing. They gave every alchemist a different standard of free medicinal herbs for a month. As long as they needed it, they could go to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion to get the medicinal herbs for that month. There were also some subsidies of gold yuan. After all, there were some people who went bankrupt in order to concoct pills. Of course, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had to support such people and promote them well. Even some people who were not interested in concocting pills came to try their luck. In order to make a name for themselves and truly expand their influence, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would even look for an alchemist from a poor family every month to fully support them. This gave many people a feeling. As long as you like to refine pills, as long as you know how to refine pills, you don't need to worry about anything else. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion will take care of everything for you. Li Zongjiu, as the senior brother of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, what's wrong with standing up for yourself? Let me tell you, you haven't graduated yet. A beautiful woman with fiery red hair said in front of Li Zongjiu. Looking at her posture, if Li Zongjiu refused to go with her, she would definitely not let him go. You're just going to sit around at the registration area and expand your influence. Now that the people from the Longevity Pavilion have come out, can you bear to watch? Let me ask you, can you bear to watch? They're really too arrogant. Li Zongjiu flipped through a book in his hand. Recently, Li Zongjiu had been looking for some information about the Sacred Martial Realm. In the past, Li Zongjiu had a relatively good understanding of the Sacred Martial Continent. However, he knew little about the Sacred Martial Realm. After all, it wasn't easy to cross the wilderness. However, the remnant soul of the Sage Realm expert in the Azura Cauldron made Li Zongjiu understand that the Sacred Martial Continent was just a small place. In the sacred martial realm, even sage realm experts had to flee for their lives. Therefore, in order to avoid encountering some things in the sacred martial realm in the future, reaching the supremacy realm was just the beginning. There were far more powerful existences. Li Zhongjiu wanted to make preparations in advance and obtain more information. Why do you have to look for me for this kind of thing? Why don't you just ask Kun Erishur to go? Li Zhongjiu was being pestered to death by Ling Yan. He wanted Li Zhongjiu to appear for a moment. At least, he wanted others to know that Li Zhongjiu was not only an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, but also a student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He came out of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although Li Zhongjiu had never attended a class in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, he had always escaped whenever he could. Kun Erishur, that brat isn't famous enough. Who in the alchemy world doesn't know your name, Li Zhongjiu? Let me tell you, that guy from the Longevity Pavilion is really arrogant. He actually set up a great array in the Southern City Plaza, saying that anyone who can withstand his attack for a minute will be qualified to cultivate in the Longevity Pavilion. Brother from the Southern City, they're clearly targeting our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. They're here to snatch people. Ling Yan was impatient. He was also incomparably angry at the actions of those from the Longevity Pavilion. They were too arrogant, but there was no other way. After all, they had contracted the entire arena. Moreover, for this year's enrollment, all the academies were gathered in the recruitment plaza. The Snowy Origin was also a fair competition, with on-site registration and on-site assessment. How about this, I'll send someone to help you kill them. This way, they won't be able to recruit people. Li Zhongjiu said. He was the dignified evil lord, Li Zhongjiu. How could he become a signboard and show his face? Such an action was too degrading. Li Zhongjiu couldn't do it. Recently, Qi Yanran seemed to have been summoned back by the Four Seas Medicine Manor. After all, the Four Seas Medicine Manor could be considered as Qi Yanran's alma mater. Summoning Qi Yanran back would allow them to recruit more talents when school started. In short, based on the current situation, this year's enrollment was extremely fierce. As for what kind of people they could recruit, that was secondary. The most important thing was that the number of people registered in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor couldn't be less. If there were less, how could they explain it? How could they face others? Would they still want their face? What's the use of this? Unless you annihilate the entire Longevity Pavilion. Ling Yan said. That won't do. It's not enough. Let me tell you, a new pill palace has been established recently. They're also snatching people from us. You should annihilate them too. Their name seems to be even more arrogant. What's it called? Azure Sea Academy. Ling Yan said. This Azure Sea Academy had both elemental energy teaching and alchemy teaching. Obviously, this method was very unusual. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to obtain these two teaching qualifications. Azure Sea Academy? When Li Zhongjiu heard this name, he was stunned for a moment. Yes. Don't you think they're very arrogant? If my Heavenly Star Medicine Manor doesn't show its might, these people really think that they're going to ascend to the heavens. Ling Yan said fiercely. You're an academy. There are so many good places in the world, but you chose to come to Sacred Flame Royal City. Wouldn't that increase the pressure on the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? The Azure Sea Academy has been established so quickly. Shouldn't it be 10 years later? Li Zhongjiu frowned. If he didn't remember wrongly, the Azure Sea Academy would appear about 10 years later in his previous life. In just 2 years, it had become an existence that could compete with the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor and Imperial Martial Manor. They were ranked as the 3 great academies. However, anyone could see that the Azure Sea Academy was able to fight 1 against 2. This was absolute strength. Chapter 986. Later on, when the reputation of the Azure Ocean Academy spread, it also cultivated many outstanding talents. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu only knew that behind the Azure Ocean Academy, there was an ancient sect. Even the strength of an ancient sect was not simple. It even had a good relationship with the sect behind the Shenyan dynasty. They had only been in seclusion for many years, so it was normal for them to want to appear and make a comeback. However, after the emergence of the Azure Ocean Academy, this meant that in the future, the strength of the Shenyan dynasty would increase by leaps and bounds. Many hidden experts would also appear, and with the appearance of some geniuses, it would form a phenomenon of a blowout. Those who appeared would be true experts and geniuses. I'm not free today. I need to refine a medicinal ingredient. I'll go with you tomorrow, Li Zhongjiu said. There were many ways to refine pills. In the past, Li Zhongjiu was refining pills alone. However, now that Li Zhongjiu was refining these pills, there were many disciples of the Li family under him. He just needed to distribute some medicinal ingredients and let them refine them. In the end, Li Zhongjiu only needed to gather these medicinal liquids, and it would be easier and faster for him to refine some pills. Okay, no problem. I'll send someone to pick you up tomorrow. Don't forget, the southern square is now divided into the enrollment square. All the academies are recruiting students there. Hearing Li Zhongjiu agree, Ling Yan was naturally very happy. Now, Ling Yan was in charge of more important matters, and almost all of his efforts were invested in the business of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had a good cooperation with the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, one was an institution of the dynasty, while the other was an institution. They did not participate in any disputes of interest in the Jianghu. Therefore, when 100 flowers bloomed, they were naturally the happiest. Of course, they would not help or attack either side. Of course, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was happy to see competition in the alchemy industry. If they were to be monopolized by one party, they would definitely go downhill over time. Only through intense competition could the industry be guaranteed to progress. Thus, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion did not say anything about the Longevity Pavilion's provocation. Instead, they were waiting to watch a good show. The next day. City South Square. It could be said that the number of future students today was the highest. The entire square was filled with people. Some people were holding registration forms in their hands as they lined up in a long line. A student could only apply for 3 academies. If they didn't pass any of the 3 academies, they could only return home. As such, some people came to take a gamble. Basically, they would choose between the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and the Imperial Martial Pavilion. Of course, the appearance of the Longevity Pavilion and the Azure Ocean Academy gave these students more options to consider. Some of them even wanted to try their luck. After all, the strength of the Longevity Pavilion seemed to be quite good. After all, it was a hidden super sect. If they graduated from the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, they might have to find a job for themselves. However, in this sect, the benefits would allow them to cultivate until they were old. In comparison, more people were more interested in the Longevity Pavilion. After all, the requirements of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor were too high and too strict. It was very likely that they would be cannon fodder. Furthermore, it seemed that the person in charge of the recruitment this time around hated the Longevity Pavilion to the core. Anyone who filled in the Longevity Pavilion's registration form was basically eliminated. In other words, you could only choose between the Longevity Pavilion and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. If you registered for the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and were eliminated, then you could participate in the selection of the Longevity Pavilion. More often than not, the Longevity Pavilion would not accept you. In any case, the 2 academies were facing each other head-on. The Longevity Pavilion came to the Shenyan dynasty to recruit students and directly established the Longevity Medicine Manor. They established the Longevity Medicine Manor in the Sacred Flame Royal City. It was indeed understandable. The Longevity Pavilion came for the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. The competition between the two kings was naturally extremely intense. Both the open and covert confrontations were even more frightening. Will Li Zongjiu really come today? In the recruitment courtyard of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, a few senior and junior sisters who were in charge of some matters were chatting with each other. Yesterday, when Instructor Ling Yan came back, her face was full of arrogance, and I heard that she went there and said some harsh words. It should be true. Speaking of which, I haven't seen this Li Zongjiu before. I heard that he's very powerful. He stirred up trouble in the city and killed many people. A few girls were chattering away. Just as they were chatting, Ling Yan also walked out with an arrogant face. Go and open the door. I've already asked someone to call Li Zongjiu over. The two of you, go to the arena and see if the Longevity Pavilion's flag is still there. If it's still there, pull it out. Ling Yan said. Ah. Instructor, if you pull out the flag, it means that you have to challenge them. Yes, instructor. Think twice before you do it. This is not a joke. The other party will definitely put the flag back at all costs. What a joke. Such a big arena, only their flag is allowed. What qualifications do they have to put up an arena? Don't worry. When Li Zongjiu comes, he will definitely beat them all down. Ling Yan said with a cold smile. When they went yesterday, Ling Yan said that he would only let Li Zongjiu walk around here and show his face. This way, everyone would know that Li Zongjiu was here. After all, this was the celebrity effect. When they saw him, those young people would definitely rush in excitedly. This kind of thing was common. But how could Ling Yan let Li Zongjiu be so relaxed? Of course, he had to find something for this guy to do. As for the person who set up the arena, it seemed that the person in charge was an elder-level expert. He was at least a 5th-grade alchemist, or maybe even stronger. After all, he was so young. If the disciples of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor went up, they would definitely lose. Even if Ling Yan rushed up, he might not have an absolute chance of winning. Moreover, Ling Yan was an instructor. If he took the initiative to rush up, it would really be considered as a provocation. The two sides might become extremely fierce. However, Li Zongjiu's actions were different. One must know that Li Zongjiu was only a student of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. This year, he was only a second-year student. Li Zongjiu's strength was stronger than Ling Yan. If he went up and defeated the opponent's elder, would these people be willing to give up the Longevity Pavilion or the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? When the time comes, Ling Yan would announce that he would expand the enrollment quota and ensure that the entrance of the Longevity Pavilion would be clean. Causing trouble in front of her Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Didn't they see who was in charge now? This was Ling Yan's idea. His heart was even more delighted. Those few girls listened, and in order to boost their courage, they grabbed a few boys and went together. One of them was called Mu Qin Yun. Chapter 987. White Deer Manor. Early in the morning, a girl with a long ponytail came. Compared to a year ago, she looked more mature. You must be Miss Gongjiu from Heavenly Day Medicine Manor. Please come in. Lu Pei came to welcome her. Gongjiu walked in curiously. Looking at the White Deer Manor, Gongjiu's life was not as rich and exciting as Li Zongjiu's. As a second-year student, Gongjiu also needed to put her energy into cultivation. That was why she was able to advance smoothly. After she advanced, she also needed to work harder to graduate successfully. During the holidays, she would also return to the family for a few days. At the same time, Gongjiu also chose to come and help with the enrollment for credits. After all, there were only so many students in Heavenly Day Medicine Manor. The enrollment was more troublesome, so they naturally needed the help of these people. Compared to other schools, the number of students in Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was indeed too small. My name is Lu Pei. I'm a guard in this manor. Young master is still refining pills. Miss Gongjiu, please wait here for a moment. Lu Pei said. After half retiring from the city guard army to come here, his strength alone had increased by an unknown number of realms. Therefore, the change in strength was quite terrifying. Letting Lu Pei stay in White Deer Manor was also very comfortable and carefree. Even if these trivial matters needed Lu Pei to deal with, he was willing to do it. No matter where you are, you won't be able to get such a big improvement. Moreover, when Xiao Zhao went out to do things, Lu Pei needed to accompany and protect him. However, there were fewer people in the city who didn't know what was good for them. After Li Zongjiu crippled the Gu family, the people in the city understood the strength of White Deer Manor. Even if there were some conflicts in the negotiations, they wouldn't use too much violence to resolve them. Because there were a few times. White Deer Manor inadvertently showed the existence of the primitive emperor-level soul beast in the back mountain. And there was more than one. This was the most shocking thing. It made people feel extremely shocked about the strength of White Deer Manor. Therefore, even if they couldn't cooperate, at least the relationship between them wouldn't be too unpleasant. They would always leave some leeway. After all, they would meet in the future, and who knew when they would meet again. Gong Jiu didn't even have time to ask for someone to summon her before she was invited in. Moreover, she knew her name so accurately, which made Gong Jiu extremely surprised. Sitting in the hall, drinking a cup of tea. Lu Pei also went to report to Li Zongjiu. Since Gong Jiu had nothing to do, he wandered around the hall, admiring the antique wares placed on the counter. 9 Dragons Jade. My God, didn't this thing go missing 500 years ago? It actually appeared here. Gong Jiu's family had a connection with these antiques. Therefore, in Gong Jiu's eyes, these antiques were very good. He could tell whether these antiques were authentic or not with just a glance. The 9-dragon wall jade carving in front of him was a stunning masterpiece of a master sculptor from 500 years ago. Later on, it was lost after a few hands. He didn't expect to see it again here. Do you like these things? Gong Jiu was carefully observing and admiring the antiques in front of him. Li Zongjiu's voice came from behind. Ah, when did you come? Gong Jiu was a little flustered, like a child who was caught doing something naughty. I just arrived. What's the use of these things? Li Zongjiu stared at the 9 dragons jade carving for a long time, but couldn't see anything special about it. These broken things could easily be sold at a sky-high price. How could people accept this? Some of these things were even more valuable than one's life. It was simply unbelievable. These things alone are useless. Take the 9 dragons jade carving for example. If you can gather a complete set of it, you will be able to understand the power of the master. Gong Jiu explained. This should be the 7th piece. There are a total of 9 pieces. My family has 7 of them. The 7th piece, the 9 dragons jade carving, and the 9th piece, the flying immortal broken jade, are still missing. I didn't expect you to have one here. After saying that, Gong Jiu looked at Li Zongjiu. So magical. Li Zongjiu had never been involved in this industry before. Now that he heard that there was such a relationship, he was slightly surprised. These people were really too free to do anything if they had to gather a set to be effective. However, Li Zongjiu didn't care about collecting these things. So what if the master was a master? He was just a slightly more powerful spiritual master. Not to mention that he was already dead, even if he was still alive, he wouldn't be able to do anything in front of Li Zongjiu. In fact, it's just a gimmick of the master sculptors. However, if you want to sell your 9 dragons jade carving, you can consider selling it to me first. I'll give you a high price. Gong Jiu said with a smile. Then you can just take it. It's just a decoration. Li Zongjiu took the 9 dragons jade carving and threw it to Gong Jiu. This scared Gong Jiu so much that he quickly reached out to catch it. If it fell to the ground, it would break into pieces. If this thing was broken, there would be no more of it. This won't do. It's too valuable. When Gong Jiu caught the 9 dragons jade carving, he felt that his heart was about to jump out. How could this guy be so rude? It's too dangerous. However, how could he just take away such a valuable thing? This was an out-of-print ancient carving. 500 years ago wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. Especially when it came from a master sculptor. Take it. Take me to the recruitment square. Li Zongjio waved his hand and said. How much could this broken thing be worth? That won't do. I'll buy it for you at the market price. I only have this much money. I'll give it to you first. As for the rest, I'll go back to my family and get it. Gong Jiu said stubbornly. Then, he handed a small pouch to Li Zongjio. This was a Qiankuan pouch. There was a small space inside. It wasn't big, but it was enough to store some gold yuan and purple yuan. Li Zongjio didn't think much and took the Qiankuan pouch. How much can this be sold for? As he spoke, Li Zongjio opened it and took a look. He was dazzled by the number of purple yuan in the Qiankuan pouch. Fuck, so much. He scanned it with his mental strength. 96 million purple yuan coins. Do you usually bring so much money to school? Li Zongjio looked at Gong Jiu in shock. More than 90 million purple yuan was more than the price of a 5th-grade elixir. If a 6th-grade elixir was auctioned, it would be about the same price. I usually bring a certain amount of money with me. I'll buy and sell some antiques to earn some pocket money. These are all earned by me. But the final appraisal of your 9-dragon jade should be about 300 million purple yuan. I'll pay you 270 million purple yuan according to the market price and deduct the appraisal fee. Gong Jiu said. The appraisal fee was 10% of the total price. He couldn't refuse it. Appraisers like them had to rely on this method to survive. As long as this item was appraised by him, after the transaction, they would have to pay. Some of the more overbearing ones would directly ask for a fee during the appraisal. Fuck, these things are so valuable. Li Zongjio's eyes lit up. If you want to find these antiques, it's easy. In the past, Li Zongjio had killed and fled all the way. He relied on these ancient tombs to make a fortune. However, back then, Li Zongjio had only collected some cultivation methods and secret manuals from the tomb. As for the antiques and other things, they were all crushed by his foot. He didn't know that these things were so valuable. Of course, the craftsmanship can't be copied. Moreover, there's the insight of a mental strength master. If you can collect a complete set, the price will be immeasurable. Chapter 988. Li Zongjio didn't know much about antiques, but it didn't matter. When the time came, he would let Xiao Zhao do some research. Perhaps there would be some benefits. When he was really out of money, or when he suddenly couldn't afford it, he would use these things to exchange for money. For Li Zongjio, it was also a method. Gong Jiu had been one of the people who had been in charge of Li Zongjio's exam back then. He had never imagined that Li Zongjio, who he had been watching back then, would become the poster boy of the Heavenly Day medicine manner in the blink of an eye. This made Gong Jiu's heart filled with emotions. At the same time, Gong Jiu also knew that the distance between him and Li Zongjio could be said to be very far. Just based on the current situation. He already knew that this Li Zongjio's future was limitless. Even now, he already had a feeling of soaring to the sky. He was afraid that Li Zongjio would definitely have a place in the top 10 figures of the Shengyan dynasty this year. The two of them came to the recruitment square together. However, they realized that there weren't many people in the recruitment square of Tianshan Medicine Manor. There was only a little junior sister who stayed behind to guard. Where are the others? Gongjiu walked in and asked. Senior sister, just now, Teacher Ling Yan asked a few seniors to go and get the flag together. Later on, they seemed to be fighting. Then, Teacher Ling Yan angrily brought people and rushed out. It seemed like she wanted to take revenge. That junior sister was also quite frightened by the scene just now. She knew that Ling Yan's personality was incomparably fiery, but she didn't expect that when she was angry, it would be so terrifying. And just now, in Ling Yan's eyes, it seemed like she was going to spit out flames that could eat people. After Ling Yan killed her way out, there was naturally no one in the recruitment square. And it was said that the examinees who came to register were all rushing towards the arena. It became an extremely lively scene. This, Gongjiu was also dumbfounded. How did things turn out like this? Li Zongjiu felt that it was normal. With Ling Yan's temper, how long could she hold it in? She would explode at any moment, catching people off guard. Such an outcome was also very normal. Let's go and take a look. Since he was already here, of course he had to go and take a look. If Ling Yan won the fight with others, it would be fine. If he lost, then the problem would be serious. Let's go, let's go. Gongjiu also hurriedly lifted her skirt and rushed in that direction. When they arrived at the arena, they could already see the black mass of people surging in front of them. Moreover, there were people calling their friends over to watch the show. Quick, go and take a look. There seems to be a fight over there. Oh my God! This is so exciting. I heard that the Longevity Pavilion and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor are fighting. Really? Then I'll have to take a good look. Immediately, these people rushed out one after another. The people in front of them had already blocked the road. Li Zongjiu and Gongjiu also used their hidden strength to push the people around them away. Hey, who is it? So unreasonable. Why are you pushing? Can't you see that there are so many people in front of us? There was a brat who seemed to have a bad temper. He even glared at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu did not say anything and directly threw him out. Then, under the astonished gazes of Gongjiu and the others, he calmly continued to squeeze forward. This was the advantage of being strong. I'm rude and unreasonable. What can you do? In the arena, Ling Yan and the people from the Longevity Pavilion were in a confrontation. Behind the arena was the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion. Whoever pulled out the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion meant that they were here to cause trouble. When Mu Qinyun and the others came in the morning, they were ready to cause trouble. However, before they could pull out the battle flag, they were directly humiliated by the people from the Longevity Pavilion. Then, there was a competition. The main thing was that the other party actually attacked, sneakily attacking Mu Qinyun and humiliating her in front of everyone. Even with Mu Qinyun's character, she could not stand the provocation of the other party and jumped up to fight with them. The other party relied on their numbers and shamelessly said that this was the cultivation flame array of the sect. No matter how many people there were, their array would always be a 5-man array. Speaking of which, it was extremely shocking. To think that they could be so shameless. You juniors are not qualified to fight with me. Get out of my way. Ling Yan looked at the crowd before him coldly. There were 5 disciples from the Longevity Pavilion blocking the front. They seemed to be in a stalemate with Ling Yan and the others. The other party's strength was indeed not bad. Otherwise, Mu Qinyun would not have lost so badly. Teacher, if you are interested in challenging the cultivation flame array of our Longevity Pavilion, you can give it a try. If the few behind you are interested, you can come at me together. The man who was the leader of the Longevity Pavilion looked refined and polite. When he spoke, he was filled with pride. He did not put the people from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor in his eyes. One must know that they were facing a group of teachers and students from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. To think that they would dare to ask them to come at them together. If the few of you can break through our cultivation flame array, you will naturally be able to meet with our elders. Nonsense. The 5 of you just beat up our senior brother Mu. Bullying us with numbers. Don't you have any shame? One of the young ladies looked on and shouted out. Since there were so many people behind her and teacher Ling Yan was here, there was nothing to be afraid of. It's simple if you want to take down our battle flag. You just have to break the array. If this female teacher can't do it, we can wait. The disciples of the Longevity Pavilion were clearly very confident in themselves. The reputation of the Everlasting Pavilion was not just for show. Although these 5 disciples were disciples of the Everlasting Pavilion, they were all core disciples. In the future, important positions in the Everlasting Pavilion would be given to them. They would be the future leaders of the Everlasting Pavilion. The strength of these people was already above average in the sect. In fact, some of the elders of the sect might not even be a match for them. If they were placed in the Heavenly Star Medicine manner, they would be at least 5 experts of the same level as Ling Yan. Among the teachers, they would be ranked at the top. Naturally, Ling Yan knew that these people were not weak. But if they were to fight, he would not be afraid. However, the seniority did not matter. Even if he won, it was only right to win against these juniors. If he were to accidentally reveal any signs of defeat, it would be the talk of the town. He might even become the talk of the town. It might even have a great impact on the Heavenly Star Medicine manor. Just the 5 of you. I can give you some time. Go and call for more people. If you can't do it, you can call your sect master. A voice rang out. When they heard the owner of the voice and what he said, everyone was shocked. Not only did he provoke the disciples of the Longevity Pavilion, he even dared to shamelessly ask them to find the sect master of the Longevity Pavilion. He was simply too arrogant. He was simply too lawless. Hearing this, Ling Yan knew that Li Zhongjiu had arrived. Although Ling Yan knew that Li Zhongjiu was here, he would definitely not be at a disadvantage. After all, this Li Zhongjiu was simply too arrogant. However, Ling Yan did not expect this Li Zhongjiu to be so arrogant. He directly challenged the sect master. Even Ling Yan felt that Li Zhongjiu was a little too much. Gong Jiu came with Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu went up the stage first. When he heard Li Zhongjiu's words, Gong Jiu almost fell off the stage. He actually dared to say such words. As expected of the arrogant Li Zhongjiu. The expressions of the 5 people on the opposite side immediately changed. Just a moment ago, they were smiling calmly. In the blink of an eye, they gave off a gloomy feeling. Li Zhongjiu was simply courting death. Arrogant. You think you're worthy of our sect master? Even if you ask your father, it's impossible. A man standing at the back said coldly. These words were said without hesitation. He wanted to teach this Li Zhongjiu a lesson. At the very least, he had to refute these words. When the leader heard the words of the person behind him and saw Li Zhongjiu's expression change slightly, he suddenly had a bad feeling. Be careful. This warning was said subconsciously. However, by the time he said it, it was already too late. The person who spoke just now had already fallen into Li Zhongjiu's hands in the blink of an eye. Li Zhongjiu directly slapped his opponent's face twice. Then, he kicked the latter in the stomach and kicked him out of the ring. Chapter 989. In front of everyone, he directly kicked this person out of the arena. Even the people from the Chongqing Pavilion did not react in time. You're courting death. The young man who led the group was furious. The other party had actually gone to such an extent, beating them up without saying a word. He was simply looking down on them and looking down on the Chongqing Pavilion. Boom! The other 4 people burst out with ferocious flames. The moment the flames surged out, a wave of fluctuation immediately spread out. The 4 of them attacked with great rapport, releasing their own spiritual flames almost at the same time. When the flames of the four people intertwined, it immediately created a terrifying commotion. Ling Yan and the others saw it, but Ling Yan was not worried at all. Instead, he pushed the people from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to the back to avoid being hit by the flying limbs. That would not be good. Everyone, stay away. If the blood splashes on your body, it won't be easy to wash it off. Just as expected. Even though those fellows were the future leaders of the Longevity Pavilion and would be heavily nurtured, in the face of Li Zongjiu, all of them combined were incapable of fighting back. Bang! Bang! 3 men and 1 woman. There was no difference. They were all sent flying by Li Zongjiu's kick. All of them fell to the ground. As for their refining flame array, they did not even have the chance to condense it. The stage was cleared in an instant. The one who attacked was only an ordinary-looking young man. Fuck, who is this guy? He's too fierce. Isn't he that guy? I've seen him before. I saw him last time too. Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He's Li Zongjiu. I heard that during the 3 Dynasties Elixir Conference, the one who suppressed the geniuses from the other 2 dynasties was Li Zongjiu. I heard that he even killed them in an instant. Fuck, he's so fucking awesome. He killed those people from the Chongqing Pavilion in an instant. I heard that they've been here for a long time. They're so arrogant and look down on others. All of them are extremely arrogant. Some young onlookers saw Li Zongjiu's natural and unrestrained posture. Although he wasn't handsome, his skills were good enough. It was hard to believe that he could directly knock down someone. One by one, legends about Li Zongjiu began to spread. I didn't expect that the Honorable Honorary Elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would interfere in the competition between the academies and even seriously injure a few juniors. How impressive. Gong Jiu and the others immediately felt an extremely powerful pressure condensing on the stage. The appearance of this power immediately caused their faces to change. The elders of the Longevity Pavilion must have made their move. Looking at Ling Yan, he was still full of confidence. With Li Zongjiu's temper, no matter how many people came, they would only be beaten up. Anyway, the person was beaten up by Li Zongjiu. It had nothing to do with her, Ling Yan. As soon as her voice fell, an aura of anger confronted the sky. Another figure appeared on the stage. This person looked old, but there was a dense aura lingering around his body. He was in a sage-like state. With a flip of his sleeves, there was an air of arrogance lingering around him. However, his face was obviously full of anger. Just now, Li Zongjiu had directly defeated a disciple from the Longevity Pavilion without showing any mercy. Even if the elder of the Longevity Pavilion wanted to keep a low profile, it would be impossible for him to do so. If they didn't teach Li Zongjiu a lesson, then, the Longevity Pavilion would have the face to continue staying here. Therefore, the elder who had been watching from the side couldn't stand it anymore. If they didn't show up to shake up the situation, the Longevity Pavilion would have no way to go in the future. However, if you showed up and saved the situation, why did you have to bring Li Zongjiu along? You even came to provoke Li Zongjiu. I, Li Zongjiu, am mighty in this city. What can you do? Li Zongjiu spread his hands. Everyone present was shocked by Li Zongjiu's calm words. They were all stunned on the spot. Their mouths were agape as they stared at Li Zongjiu in front of them. This kid is starting to get arrogant. Ling Yan retreated to the side with her people and watched as Li Zongjiu confronted the elder of the Longevity Pavilion. I am the elder of the Yin Gate of the Longevity Pavilion's Elder Hall, Lu Sunji. Elderly, since you are the honorary elder of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, you have taught a few juniors a lesson today. However, what did the juniors of the Longevity Pavilion do wrong? Lu Sunji said calmly. There was a sense of arrogance between his brows. If Li Zongjiu couldn't give a reason, this matter would not be settled so easily. Can't I teach them a lesson if they didn't do anything wrong? Li Zongjiu shot a glance at Lu Sunji, then glanced at the battle flag on the stage behind him. With a wave of his hand, he sent the battle flag flying. When Ling Yan saw this, he gave a signal to the disciple beside him. That disciple also threw the battle flag in his hand towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu naturally placed the battle flag on the stage. As for the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion, Lu Sunji caught it. Since you are in someone else's territory, you must abide by the rules. The Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor is now recruiting. Anyone who wants to come can sign up. Li Zongjiu raised his arm and shouted. He actually advertised in such a grand occasion. Lu Sunji didn't confront him. Instead, he turned around and left angrily. Before he left, he didn't say anything harsh. After all, the Longevity Pavilion was an alchemy sect. However, they would definitely get back at him today. It was just that Lu Sunji didn't have the confidence to win against Li Zongjiu. If even he lost, it would be a true loss of face. Things had changed too quickly. The Longevity Pavilion had always looked very powerful. However, when they met a real expert, when they met Li Zongjiu, they became so terrified. It was hard to believe that this was the case. The main reason was that Li Zongjiu's appearance was too strong. If Elder Lu had wanted to make a move, Li Zongjiu wouldn't have shown any mercy. After Li Zongjiu took control of the situation, Ling Yan quickly sent people to distribute the registration form. At the same time, he also attached the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor's advertisement. Today was different from the past. In the current environment of alchemy, if one didn't work hard, it would be easy to be overshadowed by others. In that case, the future of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor wouldn't be easy. Ling Yan was aware of this point, so in these confrontations, he would never give in. Well done. I'll treat you to red braised meat later. Ling Yan nudged Li Zongjiu with his shoulder. Obviously, he wanted to give Li Zongjiu an extra drumstick. Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, looked helpless. You called me here just to deal with these three-legged cats? I'm very busy. It was rare for Li Zongjiu to make a move. It wasn't easy to invite Li Zongjiu for once, but he actually asked Li Zongjiu to deal with these small characters. Don't tell me you want a girl to fight with them. Ling Yan also spoke in an extremely righteous manner. Li Zongjiu didn't want to continue to tangle with Ling Yan. In any case, Ling Yan was also very busy now. Li Zongjiu was wandering around the recruitment square. He heard that Qi Yanran was also here. Of course, he wanted to find Qi Yanran to have some fun. These days, Qi Yanran was also busy with the recruitment of the academy. After all, the Four Seas Medicine Manor was a relatively important project for the four big families. Some of the alchemists of the four big families also came from the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Therefore, Qi Yanran was also personally involved. After all, Qi Yanran's current partner was Li Zongjiu. The strength of the Qi family must also be improved. Otherwise, sooner or later, Li Zongjiu would soar to the sky and not be limited to this small Xingyan dynasty. Qi Yanran knew Li Zongjiu's ambition. Therefore, Qi Yanran also had to speed up her own strength. And today, the Four Seas Medicine Mansion's recruitment courtyard that Qi Yanran was in welcomed an extremely shocking genius. Chapter 990. Four Seas Medicine Manor. The Four Seas Medicine Manor also used some special methods to assess the talent of those who had yet to come into contact with alchemy. Although this method wasn't necessarily accurate, it could still guarantee that the person who was assessed would have a certain level of talent in most cases. Today, a young man had appeared in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. He had reached the level of an upper-class genius in every test. The Four Seas Medicine Manor categorized these talents into grades 1 to 9, with grade 1 being the highest and grade 9 being the lowest. It mainly measured one's affinity with alchemy fire and one's perception of medicinal herbs. As long as one's results were above the average, the 4 C's medicine manor would accept them to prove that they had the ability to do so. Over the past few days, apart from the disciples of the 4 great families who came to take the test and lowered the standard slightly, there were many students who came to register. However, most of them just barely passed. In fact, some people even started to doubt whether these things that they had spent a lot of money on were effective at all. However, Qi Yanran also took the test personally. All of them had reached the highest value, except for one test that was slightly lacking. This morning, there was a young man who looked a little like a ruffian who had casually reached the highest level of talent and passed the highest level of evaluation. All the values had reached full marks. No one dared to believe their eyes, because this person's talent was even higher than Qi Yanran's. Not only was Qi Yanran shocked, but the mentors of the 4 C's medicine manor were also shocked. After a series of tests, this person's talent had completely shocked the 4 C's medicine manor. They definitely couldn't allow someone with such outstanding talent to be recruited by other academies. Who knew, he might become the second Li Zongjiu. This person's name was Wuxia. He came here from a small town at the border. His family was just an ordinary hunter, and his yuan power aura was extremely weak. It was said that he had consumed some special medicinal herbs when he was young, so his mental strength was much stronger than people of the same age. Although he said that he came from a small town, Wuxia gave off an extremely mischievous vibe. "Sisters, how are the results of my test?" Wuxia sat on a chair and looked at the busy senior sisters with a teasing gaze. "Ah, your test results are very good. Did you bring the school fees? If you pay the fees now, we'll directly enroll you. I only have this much money on me." As he spoke, Wuxia also took out 2 silver coins. In a place like the Sacred Flame Royal City, it was rare to see silver coins. Fortunately, Wuxia's innate talent was such that even if the 4 C's medicine manor had to fork out money, they would still have to keep him. "I don't think I have enough to pay the tuition fees. I'll go back and save up for another year," Wuxia said, feeling somewhat dejected. He then turned around to leave. The girl hurriedly called out to Wuxia. "Wait a moment. Our 4 C's medicine manor is interested in nurturing talents. The tuition fee is just a symbolic thing. Your 2 silver coins are enough. This is your admission card. Welcome to the 4 C's medicine manor." Wuxia took a red certificate from the man's hand. For any rural youth, this was an invitation to riches and honor. However, Wuxia did not seem satisfied. Why don't I go to the other smaller academies to take a look?" As he spoke, Wuxia was about to leave. The girls immediately called him over. "With your aptitude, you will be able to receive excellent treatment in our 4 C's medicine manor. You will be able to directly enter the excellent class. Senior Sister Qi Yanran, did you know that Senior Sister Qi Yanran is in our excellent class?" Presumably, any youth who came to the Sacred Flame Royal City would have heard of Qi Yanran's name. She was a super beauty in the royal city and also an alchemy genius. It was said that Qi Yanran's name was on the youth ranking recently. In a situation where there was no other way, they could only use the name of a beauty to attract this young man. "Oh." Wuxia stopped in his tracks. A glint flashed in his eyes. It seemed that this trip was not in vain. Qi Yanran. The Wuxia in front of him was no ordinary person. He was the person sent by the Black Canal Basilica to find Li Zongjiu and bring back the soul-returning beast. However, once he learned of Li Zongjiu's strength, even Wuxia did not dare to act rashly. As a matter of fact, he only came here after making a complete plan. To ensure that his identity was trustworthy, he even stayed in a place called Guanxi Town for half a month. He even obtained a household register for Guanxi Town. At the very least, the source of his identity could not be wrong. Besides, it would not be easy to deal with Li Zongjiu. It was said that the assassins sent by the ancient Zong family had not done anything yet. In fact, they had not even sent a reply. The ancient Zong family had already assumed that the two of them had failed their mission and had sent a second group of elites. They soon arrived at the Sacred Flame Royal City. Before the assassins from the ancient Zong family took action, they had to bring back the soul-returning beast from Li Zongjiu's hands. Otherwise, they might not be able to find the soul-returning beast, and if the soul-returning beast ended up in the ancient Zong family's hands, the price they would have to pay for it would be even greater. It would be fine if these people knew what was good for them, but if they did not and killed the soul-returning beast, then it would be terrible. You're Wuxia. Qi Yanran walked in at that moment. It was the first time Qi Yanran saw Wuxia. She and the others had been alarmed by the return of the data, which was why Qi Yanran had reported the news to her superiors, and they had quickly decided to recruit this person. However, when Qi Yanran walked over, Wuxia was about to leave. When Wuxia saw Qi Yanran, a smitten look appeared on his face. In truth, Wuxia was also incredibly impulsive. He did not expect that there would be such a beautiful person with such exquisite features. Her eyes were so beautiful that they were unparalleled in the world. If there was even the slightest hint of flirtatiousness in her eyes, it would definitely be an incredibly lethal weapon. Wuxia immediately started laughing. I am Wuxia. Once Wuxia finished speaking, he saw a figure walking over from behind Qi Yanran. Wuxia's gaze froze. At that moment, Wuxia's state of mind was affected to a certain extent. It was a reaction when danger was near. The hair under Wuxia's clothes had already stood on end. His muscles had also entered a defensive state. Just by getting close to him, he gave off such a feeling. Yanran, you're here. Chapter 991. Li Zongjiu walked in and recognized Qi Yanran when he saw her back. Zongjiu, why are you here? Qi Yanran turned to look at Li Zongjiu and smiled. She was like a warm spring breeze. She was an iceberg that would never melt. Only when she met Li Zongjiu would she smile like this. I just went to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, so I came to see you. Li Zongjiu said. When he walked in, he saw Wuxia. Wuxia was about the same age as Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu's aura gave off the feeling of a proud and aloof ruler. Even the few young ladies from the Four Seas Medicine Manor behind him were excited when they saw Li Zongjiu. Is he Li Zongjiu? I heard that he also won first place in an exchange competition held by the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Some time ago, Li Zongjiu shocked everyone in the Haiku dynasty. The opponent's trump card couldn't even last one move in senior brother Li's hands. So powerful. It seems like he's already together with senior sister Yanran. What a good match. A few young ladies were chattering away. As for Li Zongjiu's achievements, it was not easy for him to go out and achieve such a proud result. As the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, of course, they had to publicize it. They didn't want everyone to know about it, but they had to at least set off a trend in this circle. Moreover, their goal was to make it so that everyone knew about it. Only then would it feel good enough. Wait a moment. Qi Yanran said to Li Zongjiu. This is the Four Seas Medicine Manor Special Recruitment Order. If you are willing, you can stay in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. The rest of the assessment can be waived. Qi Yanran handed a piece of paper to Wuxia. When they heard the words special recruitment, the surrounding people couldn't believe their ears. Specially recruited. Oh my God. This is a very precious quota. When they heard about the special recruitment, everyone was shocked. After all, the special recruitment opportunity was usually reserved for extremely talented people. Once they enjoyed the special recruitment and entered the academy to further their studies, everything they needed would be handed over to the academy. Everything would be taken care of by the academy. Moreover, the treatment enjoyed by the students of the academy was the highest. Some privileges that ordinary students could not enjoy were enjoyed by specially recruited students. In other words, almost all the resources of the Four Seas Medicine Manor could be opened to them for free. It was that direct. The four great clans behind the Four Seas Medicinal Manor had no problem gathering this amount of money. If they were able to cultivate a top expert, then it would definitely be a very high return on investment. Really? That's great. Thank you, senior sister. I still have some things to do, so I'll go back first. Wuxia immediately took the special recruitment token from Qi Yanran's hand excitedly. Then, he quickly walked outside. He wanted to get close to Qi Yanran first, then get close to Li Zongjiu. However, he didn't expect Li Zongjiu to appear so suddenly, and the latter's strength was much stronger than expected. He really is the person who killed Meng Qing. When Wuxia arrived that day, Meng Qing was already dead. Although Wuxia used a unique secret method today to temporarily seal his cultivation, Wuxia couldn't guarantee that Li Zongjiu didn't see through his strength just now. If he did, then it would be terrible. As long as Li Zongjiu carefully investigated, he would be able to find out Wuxia's identity. Wuxia couldn't withstand any consideration. Now, he could only pray that Li Zongjiu didn't see through his hidden strength, and it wasn't easy to see through it. Another thing was that Li Zongjiu didn't investigate his identity so seriously. Otherwise, with Li Zongjiu's power, it would be too easy to catch him. Therefore, it wasn't good to stay here for long. After getting the special recruitment token, he quickly left. However, all of this couldn't escape Li Zongjiu's eyes. It was easy for Wuxia to hide his strength from others, but it was impossible for him to hide it from Li Zongjiu. With just a glance, Li Zongjiu already knew that this person's strength wasn't weak. That guy's strength isn't simple. What's his background? Li Zongjiu asked Qi Yanran. Li Zongjiu's first instinct was that there must be something wrong with this guy. Not simple. He only cultivated a little bit of Yuan Qi, and is at the level of an ordinary Yuan scholar. As for his background, he came from a hunter family in Guanxi Town. Guanxi Town. When Li Zongjiu heard this, he remembered that Guanxi Town was his mother's home. How could there be such a strong person in Guanxi Town? He was so young and so powerful. It wasn't easy to meet someone like him. Hey, elderly, what wind blew you to our place? Just as Qi Yanran was about to ask what the problem was, she heard a hearty voice. She could hear a slight gasp from the person's voice. It was obvious that he had just rushed over. Qi Yanran glanced at the person who had come. It was Zhao Jingxian from the Zhao family. This guy really came because he heard the news. He probably rushed over after hearing that Li Zongjiu had come to the admissions institute. Li Zongjiu wasn't someone that ordinary people could come into contact with. If he could invite Li Zongjiu to have a meal or drink tea with him, he would definitely be able to use him in the future. Of course, Zhao Jingxian had helped Li Zongjiu a lot in the past. At least, he made Li Zongjiu remember the person in front of him. In the past, Zhao Jingxian avoided Li Zongjiu when he saw Li Zongjiu because every time Li Zongjiu appeared, there would always be a big commotion. At that time, Zhao Jingxian estimated that Li Zongjiu wouldn't live for long. Who knew that this guy would become more and more famous, more and more arrogant? Now, Li Zongjiu was ranked at the top of the list of people who couldn't be provoked in Holy Flame Royal City. This was because Li Zongjiu had used many examples to prove that he couldn't be provoked. Zhao Jingxian, you're quite diligent. Qi Yanran said faintly. Admissions wasn't a small matter, but some people chose to treat it negatively. For example, Zhao Jingxian was busy making money and managing his business. Now that Li Zongjiu was here, this guy shamelessly came over. It's you. Li Zongjiu saw Zhao Jingxian. Yanran, do you still have something to deal with? Li Zongjiu suddenly turned his head and asked Qi Yanran. Qi Yanran smiled knowingly. Yes, there are still thousands of registration forms that haven't been counted, hundreds of test results that haven't been classified, and more than 50 people have been scheduled for an interview in the afternoon, Zhao Jingxian heard. Hey, this kind of thing, why would senior sister Qi need to come personally? Don't worry, leave it to me. I, Zhao Jingxian, promise to help you do it beautifully. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.